And I will be your MC this evening. Kindly bear with us. We have started slightly past time, but right now we are on the tail ends of getting those who need to be in this room to be in this room. Then we begin our program this evening. But even as we do so, I'd like you to prepare your mind, okay? Because here we'll have intellectual engagement. It's a book. I don't know how many people have managed to get a copy of that book. Have you held the book somewhere? You guys have read the book? Beautiful. Because I might be awarding those who have a good grasp of this particular book. But the whole idea is to share a life of a man who's been through ups and downs, highs and lows, and all of us in this room have played a role in this particular story. So be present, enjoy, laugh, engage, be free. We will start off, of course, with prayers in terms of our programs. Later on, we'll have some entertainment. After the entertainment, we'll have special insights from special guests. And these are people that Ambassador has served with at one point or the other. And thereafter, also another entertainment. And then we have an opportunity to get into the book. Ambassador Piero will be able to take us on this particular journey. What exactly, why a book, why right now? He'll be able to give us the details. And after that, we have an engagement session where we will have a Q&A session. So those of us who've read the book and we are not sure, what did you mean by that? You'll have an opportunity to shoot your question for clarification, for context, if at all that was lost at one point or the other. And then we'll have a vote of thanks and closing prayers, and then we have book signing and photo session. So right now is 18 minutes past 6. We should be beginning in the next few minutes in the interest of time. I'm meant to understand it's Friday, and it's, as much as it's good sometimes to stay out late, it's also a blessing to be able to go home early enough so that you start your weekend on a right note. But thank you very much for making time and being part of this engagement. We should be starting our program soon. For now, I'm going to go back to the laptop, continue playing some music, some African saxophone music, and then we start later on our program. So asanteni sana. And you guys look beautiful from up here. I see even Ambassador is here. Well tied. Good to see you, sir. Amazing. So what's up? So can we just unmute that and we set the mood for some music, please. Thank you. beginning this particular program. As I said earlier, my name is Nokip Kimboy. I know I'm giving the cameraman a hard job moving around, but I have a request, okay? One request before we start officially, because I know many of us have come in group of friends. Most likely we know more than 3 or 4 people in this particular room, but just to set the mood, please greet the person sitting next to you, tell them welcome to this book launch, and ask them, what are you expecting this evening? If they tell you refreshment, tell them we already had refreshments, okay? What are they saying? What are they expecting? Let me come to sir. There you go. Naona kuna watu wamenyamaza tu peke yao. Sir, how are you doing? Good to see you. What are you expecting this evening?
An exciting evening to really get the reflections of Ambassador Pierre Owade and his experiences captured in the book. And also we hear reflections of friends, those who have read the book particularly. For those who have not read the book, I think will benefit from that conversation.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. And now I see some people avoiding eye contact this evening. Sir, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Wadapia.
I know. I love the prophecy in that statement. But what are you expecting this evening, sir?
My goodness. I didn't know it was a workshop. But in terms of expectations, I only expect one thing. To hear Ambassador Pierre Owade tell us what is in the book. I haven't read it. And then learn, because he's a gentleman I've known for so long. I can't count, but more than 30. Yes.
That's incredible. I turned 30 this year, so that's amazing. I like that. Look at that. Hello, sir. How are you doing? You look sharp. I love your dressing. It's rich when you have, the art of wearing the pullover kind of material in. It was getting lost, but you seem to be reviving it. What's your good name, sir? And what are you expecting this evening?
My name is Dr. Jack Omondi, a classmate of Richard. The reason why I'm dressed like this is because where I came from was very cold in the morning. But then I didn't have a room here in Nairobi to change, so I have stayed this way. But I expect to hear more from my long-term friend. We were in school some 50 years ago together. From there we parted ways, but now we've met again. And we thank God for that, because most of our colleagues are no longer there. Thank you.
That's incredible. 50 years ago in school, Ambassador, you have classmates from 50 years ago. That's beautiful. That is rich. Because some of us left school 10 years ago and we can't count how many people will come to our functions. So it's amazing, and thank you very much. So at this particular moment, ladies and gentlemen, all right. So there are 2 people who've double packed, unfortunately, and I'd request you if you can just go and if at all you can give your keys somebody to help you pack properly in a different space, it will be helpful. Or if you could do it yourself, well and good. But the first plate is KDN 877J. KDN 877J, and we have KDP 212G. KDP 212G. Those 2 cars, kindly attend to them even as we begin our function. So ladies and gentlemen, at this particular moment, I'd like to welcome you to the book launch of Between Law and Diplomacy Chronicles of a Career Diplomat by Ambassador Pierre Owade. And to kickstart our program this evening, it's important that we start with God, because in this journey, we recognize it's not by our strength, might, or power, but it's by the grace of God that He's brought us this far to be able to tell all these experiences. So, ladies and gentlemen, when I invite somebody to perform a particular function, I'd request us to encourage them by clapping for them and just encouraging them as they come forward. So at this particular moment, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and help me welcome Reverend Canon Ivan Somolo to open for us with a word of prayer. Tafadhali mpigeni makofi hadi afike. All right, Reverend, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, and to our very chief guest today, Ambassador Pierre Owade, my churchmate and a good friend, together with your wife, Maureen, and other distinguished guests present. It's indeed my pleasure to join in this ceremony as we celebrate Balozi on the launch of his book. I request that we pray, then I share with us some few reflections. Let us pray. Our dear Lord, we indeed are grateful to you for bringing us together for the single purpose of celebrating the incredible work done by our big brother, Balozi Owade. We thank you for giving him the grace to put together his experience as a diplomat, as a lawyer, and to stimulate our thinking through this writing. As we reflect on his writings, would you equally speak to us from the riches of your word, the foundation of all goodness, and the holder of all eternity. In Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. I am Ivan Somolo. I serve as an Anglican priest at the All Saints Cathedral, just down the road. And as I said, Balozi and I go to the same church. I'd love to read from two very brief passages. 2 Timothy chapter 4 verse 7 and verse 8. Then I'll read Philippians 3 verse 12. And then I share three quick thoughts from God's word as we begin. 2 Timothy 4, 7 and 8. Paul says this, writing to Timothy, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing. And Philippians chapter 3 verse 12 says, not that I have already obtained all this, or have already arrived at my goal, but I press on to take hold of that for which Christ Jesus took hold of me. As we hear unpacked the nexus between law and diplomacy by Ambassador Richard Owade, I reflect with us three things. One is around the fact that taking time to sit back and reflect on our accomplishments enables us to celebrate ourselves. And that when we celebrate ourselves, the recognition and realization of our achievements provide us with a great sense of fulfillment and satisfaction, which eventually lead us to a deeper and a greater sense of self-confidence. And so in this book, as Balozi reflects on what his role was, both as a lawyer and as a diplomat, and bringing out critical lessons of life, we definitely learn that as human beings, it is important to stop at some point in life, take time and reflect on the experiences of life. That indeed is what Paul does in that passage of 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. He says, I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. And I've won the race. And I've kept the faith. So he's reflecting on his journey and what he has accomplished, what he has achieved in life. That reflection does not leave you the same, because it enables you to see what you have done well and how people equally impacted you and released you to do well the things that you have done well. If we do not do that, if we do not stop to reflect on our accomplishments, then we end up becoming complainers and cursing other people and looking at our children and complaining about why they're not visiting us, why they're not giving us money, why they're not doing this, why they're not doing that. But when we take time to look at our achievements, then our hearts are welled with gratitude for what God has enabled us to achieve. The same way Paul speaks here. He recognizes that he's walked a very long journey in life and that he's achieved so much. So with confidence, he says in verse 8, that he knows there lies for him ahead a crown of righteousness for what he has achieved. Balozi, what you have done through the pages of this book, put in your hands an accomplishment of what life has meant for you. And you know, with this book, you are able to think about so many things, and there is no room for negativity. There is no room for complaint, for nagging, but there is room for celebration, for fulfillment, for greater sense of satisfaction. And therefore, Balozi today challenges us, myself included, that writing is critical because writing provides us with an opportunity to just look back. All of us who are seated here, we've got a history. We've got a past of great things that we have done. I know there are lots of ambassadors here. There are lots of corporate people here. There are lots of religious people like myself here. Regardless of our space where we've operated, stepping back to reflect on what we have achieved is critical for us. But secondly, reflecting on our achievements actually motivates us to reach out towards a greater future so that we do not just celebrate what we did, but also we remain focused so that we may finish well. So Balozi, what you don't know that you have done is to put yourself on the path and under pressure to yearn for more. Whereas you're not in active, probably work as we speak, because after your other works, you've worked for the county government as your last role, but it sets you on course to desire to do more and more, so that the story of your life may be complete and may be sweet. Paul says that one thing I do is that I press on towards the goal, to get hold of that for which Christ Jesus took hold of me. And so what you are setting yourself up is, you'll find that this is so sweet. The signing of the books, autographing the signing of the books and selling. And indeed, the money will be even sweeter, isn't it? So as the money gets sweeter and the realization that you can even write more grows, then you find yourself writing another book. And then you find yourself writing another book. Do you know what that does to many of us who are here, who are way senior than me, is that it also keeps you younger, fresh mentally, keeps you stronger, and makes you busy all the time. My senior, Elder James Ogundo, is here, and he will tell you that being active on the desk, being active, reading and writing, researching, analyzing things, makes you actually very, very active and productive. So Balozi will release you into the future, that you may accelerate that growth into the future and indeed finish well. So it serves as a wellspring for motivation to pursue greatness. May we each open up that space to pursue greatness. But then lastly, when we reflect on our achievements in life, we find that we improve our well-being, our health. As I finish, that reflecting on achievements actually triggers what in psychology we call the neurotransmitters like dopamine. So in psychology, there's something called dopamine. Dopamine is one of the hormones that is responsible for happiness. And so when you achieve something like this, it actually contributes to your well-being, your mental health, your emotional health, and your health all round. And happiness then ensues. And that is why, as we celebrate you today, we know that you're setting yourself up for proper self-care. Because when we take care of our mental health, when we take care of our emotional health, then we are caring for ourselves with these many lifestyle diseases that exist today. So I pray that these three things may set the foundation for us in this reflection, that many of us will yearn and desire to do more or to begin doing what Balozi has done. That number one, as we reflect on these accomplishments, we will celebrate ourselves and that we will experience a greater sense of fulfillment and satisfaction from doing so. But then number two, that reflecting on our achievements and chronicle them like Balozi has done will motivate us to keep focused towards a greater future so that we will finish well, so that we will pursue greatness in the life that lies ahead. But then lastly, that we will take care of our health as we keep writing, as we read, as we analyze things and do such. And do you know what, in conclusion, what this does to us? That it immortalizes you. When we write, those writings immortalize you. So beyond the grave, Balozi Philip Richard Owade will live, and we will hear him speak 100 years from now. Generations to come will quote him, and he will remain a towering, not just academic, but a towering diplomat and a towering legal mind. May God bless all of us through this process of reflection, and may the sessions be truly enriching and of learning for each one of us. In the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen? So in the Anglican Church, we say a louder amen. And God's people said, amen. Amen.
Come on, let us appreciate Reverend Evan Somolo. Mpigeni makofi tafadhali.
Upewe kuleta unafuu, kizuri na kisifiwe, Owade mwadilifu. Pongezi kwako Balozi Bwana Richard Owade, kwa huo ujio twaisi raha nyoyoni, lisikupate tishio kwa walo kwako machoni, kwa yako maendeleo twakuenzi lohini. Pongezi kwako Balozi Bwana Richard Owade, zuri unalolitaka twambie tukufanyie, kwetu sisi ushafika kunena usihofie, jambo likitamatika twataka ufurahie. Pongezi kwako Balozi Bwana Richard Owade, toa japo tabasamu upendo kuashiria, siku hii ni adhimu wapaswa kujivunia, vyema tumekukirimu punde ulipotujia. Pongezi kwako Balozi Bwana Richard Owade, dua tunakuombea udumu madarakani, shari zisijetokea wakakuangusha chini, kupambana endelea kuelimisha vitabuni. Pongezi kwako Balozi Bwana Richard Owade. Na nikimalizia nataka tuseme hichi kibwagizo cha mwisho. Pongezi kwa kwa Balozi Bwana Richard Owade. Mtanisaidia kwa hilo? Natumai mtanisaidia. Yatosha niloyasema, pongezi na kuachia. Akutunzelo karima na hasidi wa dunia. Mazuri na yalo mema yazidi kukufikia. Pongezi kwako Balozi Bwana Richard Owade. Kwa pamoja sijasikia sauti. Pongezi kwako Balozi Bwana Richard Owade. Asanteni sana.
Asante sana. Our poet Habibi, mpigeni makofi tafadhali. Ask your neighbor, have you ever written a poem? Just ask them, have you ever written a poem in your life that you can remember of? Because some of us would rather forget the poems that we wrote because of the people we wrote those poems to. I don't think it was that sweet. Asante sana, Habibi. And even as we do so, I would like to recognize some wonderful people in the room. I would like to recognize, especially from the diplomatic corps, Ambassador Chirao Ali Makwere, mpigeni makofi tafadhali. Good to meet you, sir, and good to see you and creating time to be with us. Of course, I'll also like to recognize he's a towering figure in our ecosystem. And when you read the book, Ambassador, you mentioned that you are tasked with making sure that devolution works. And one of the key beneficiaries of that devolution, the first governor of Siaya County, Colonel Rasanga, is also here with us. Mpigeni makofi. That's why I'm saying that everyone in this room is connected in one way or the other. A decision that you make in 2010 impacts somebody in 2012, 2013, and even in 2036. So I'd like to recognize that. We also have Ambassador, of course, Mr. Charles, who's supposed to give us our opening remarks, is on the way. He should be here shortly. And I'll just like to mention other insightful guests who will be speaking to us later on. Architect Philip Kungu, is he with us this evening? Architect ako wapi? Mpigeni makofi tafadhali, Architect. Good to see you, sir. Asante sana for making time to be with us this evening. We have Ambassador Tom Amolo is here with us this evening. He's downstairs. All right. Sawa sawa. Ambassador Boaz Mbaya. Ambassador Boaz Mbaya, mpigeni makofi tafadhali. Asante sana, Ambassador, for also making time to be with us this evening. Apart from that, later on, of course, we will be expecting, first of all, a good friend of mine, because if I don't recognize him, he's gonna wonder, why are you jumping me? Mr. Benedict Omolo, I've worked with him. Pigeni makofi at the far end kule. He used to be my boss. That's why it's very imperative that I recognize him. You never know where our path will cross again. But even as we do so, I'll continue recognizing other people from the diplomatic world that have been able to interact and do life with Ambassador Philip Richard Owade. But even as we do so, as we wait for these opening remarks, I asked whether somebody has read the book. How many people raised their hands whether they have read that particular book? They have taken time to go through it. Sir, you've taken some time to go through it. You've read the book? That's incredible. Sir, you've also read the book and you will be leading us in the Q&A session. I can't imagine. It's going to be fire. But even as we do so, there is a particular element and personality that comes off when somebody is writing. And this is an autobiography. So he's telling his own story. What do you think it has revealed to you from Ambassador Owade that you've long known, by reading this book, has it given you a new revelation of him, briefly?
Now, it did show me a lot of conflict he went through and how those conflicts shaped him. I think that was super, that he was a bit open to talk about them.
A lot of people hide their conflicts. When you read autobiographies, they were born in heaven. Yes?
Those are eulogies. This one is a biography.
Definitely, even as we do so. It's quite interesting. That's why I was talking about the vulnerability in the book. Yeah, and I'm glad even he was able to mention his interaction with Miguna at one point, which is very interesting. That's why you should grab this book, because it lays it all bare in regards to his journeys. Even as we do so, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. All right. I'll also like to recognize some more people. I'd like to recognize Dr. Adongo. Dr. Adongo is with us here. Where are you, Dr. Adongo? Just, Daktari. Mpigeni makofi tafadhali. Daktari, Dr. Adongo. I was talking with Dr. Adongo at the refreshment area, and we were just talking about this country and how richly we are blessed with resources. But very little is being done to make sure that Kenyan people are gaining. Thank you for making time and being part of this wonderful launch. Apart from that, I'd like to recognize Mr. James Ogundo. Mr. James, where are you, Mr. James? Beginning makofi tafadhali, Mr. James. Mr. James, that is incredible. I really appreciate that. Even as we do so, you look amazing. Napenda sana vila umeva. That is intentional. It's a very African look that I like. Apart from that, I'd like also to recognize Ambassador Mike Oyugi. Ambassador Mike Oyugi, where are you? Mpigeni makofi tafadhali, Ambassador Mike Oyugi. Asante sana, Ambassador, for making time to be with us. I'll also like to recognize Ambassador Muita Muburi. Ambassador Muita, mpigeni makofi tafadhali. Asante sana, Ambassador. Apart from that, I'd like to recognize, thank you very much, very beautiful. I like this. You know, when you start recognizing, the list gets longer. Yeah? So I'm enjoying this. I'd like to recognize Ambassador Catherine Mogaka. Mpigeni makofi tafadhali, Ambassador Catherine Mogaka. Thank you for making time to be with us this evening. I'll also like to recognize Ambassador Muthu Gitonga. Mpigeni makofi. Asante sana. And it seems ambassadors are sitting on the same table, yeah? Yeah, so my work will be to distribute you, to share the diplomatic you. And you told me that you went to school with Ambassador. Has kept you looking so young and vibrant. Apart from that, I'd like to recognize, last but not least, I'd like to recognize Dr. Okuthe. Dr. Okuthe, Daktari, where are you? Where are you? Whether our keynote has arrived, Mr. Charles. Keynote has arrived, Mr. Charles. Is he here already? Is he here already? Ne. Ambassador Barine, where ne? Ambassador Barine, where are you? Are you? Ambassador? Their keynote. That's fine. So. Ambassador? Their keynote. That's fine. So. So, ladies and gentlemen,
our host today, Richard, and I have been very good and close friends for a very, very long time. 50 years were formed and subsequently grew. As we got to know Nairobi University grew. As we got to know Nairobi University, with all of us, except processes like architecture and medicine. For me, and being truthful and For me, and being truthful and trustworthy at all times, within like many of us were shaped and molded at Cardinal Otunga High School. Like many of us were shaped and molded at Cardinal Otunga High School. His character, I call it. Richard is and has always been a good listener. He remains so today. It is now widely an accepted view, built a huge social capital base. It had the impact of one of us thinking about everything we did. The choice was, is, and will always be yours. Richard made the right choices. Live the lives we live today came from. The successes we enjoy today or have in the past. That they also want to be like Balozi Richard. That they also want to be like Balozi Richard. They will hear of many countries he traveled, the countless dignitaries, leaders, and the powerful and the mighty of the world with whom he crossed paths. They will hear about the paths he traveled, the choices he made, the mistakes, errors of poor judgment on the way. Richard is a living example of this phenomenon. To many us, but how many of you know his story or the road that he has traveled? What a diamond goes through before it can be pronounced beautiful and worth it. Disappointments, many mistakes, many regrets, dreams abandoned, but also moments story is unveiled today. If Richard is today considered as having a right, molded him to be what he is today. Each of us has a story to tell of the lessons learned and the hope for a better and brighter tomorrow. Each of us, but very few of us are brave enough to share our stories. This story, with all its storms and moments of peace and tranquility, on how to be a good people, courage and strength of character, courage and strength to share his moments of frustrations, inspiring insights on how he became the person he is today. It is a your corner. It demands that you are candid, especially if the intention of such a venture is to leave the world better. For your courage to do this and your long-term close friend, schoolmate, and root too. I could go on and on with more stories that have. Wahenga say, kusema mengi ni kuharibu. Let me conclude by saying this, asked you to. We, your friends, will remain greatly indebted to you for this rare act of courage, to you than me. To the rest of us here tonight, I leave the podium saying, this was Richard's story. Hayo yote nimeyasema kuhusu rafiki yangu wa dhati, Balozi Richard Owade Okanda, ni ya kweli, kweli kabisa, na Mungu. The Richard I know from our first meeting at Cardinal Otunga High School. We have come.
Yes, my name is Dr. Jack Omondi, and as you have been said, PRO Okanda Owade, and this is Maranda High School. First of all, and honored to have been invited by Ambassador Okanda, but I didn't know I would be asked to give. So I'm going to give a very extra the cuff speech. I'm a surgeon by profession, more or less, and Gaichanjiru Catholic Hospital. I told him it's because I came from a very cold place, Kiria. A few brought me a WhatsApp message asking me to come and attend the occasion where he would be launching a book he has written touching on personal matters, and that is between law and diplomacy. I told him, bravo, I can't wait to see that occasion. By all means, I'll come. And here I am, I came. And I'm also happy that the occasion has been well attended. We joined Maranda High School with the ambassador, I think in 1971. But we were not only schoolmates, we were classmates. But above all, we were sharing the same desk with him. And that's when I got to learn more about him, and he also got to learn more about me. But we had a teacher in Maranda called Obita Oyamo. He was teaching religious education. And Richard really liked to learn and read about the Bible. We were taught on a chapter on Luke, St. Luke, Acts of and Acts of the Apostles. And literally, Richard knew everything in the book of St. Luke from chapter 1 to chapter 24 of head. And he was a very jovial man. I never saw him quarrel, but he was also very proud. So Maranda has got this reputation of producing very eminent personalities in the country. A living example is here, the former governor of Hosea, Colonel Rasanga. He was one class behind us. We have had figures like the late Orua Jode, who's an ex-Maranda student. Former Chief Justice Maraga was also an alumni of Maranda. I'm forgetting some because I write them down, but very, very big fellows in the country. Some are lawyers, doctors, engineers, ambassadors, came from Maranda. Read it, but I'm going to read it from tonight, and I am sure from what I hear, it is very enjoyable. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Daktari. Mpigeni makofi once again. And even as we do so, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard that Ambassador Owade knew the book of Luke from chapter 1 to chapter. Tonight we'll test that knowledge, okay? So get a random scripture in your head from the book of Luke. When he comes here, ask him, tell us Luke chapter 11, verse 11, what does it say? Then we'll see whether the memories of Miranda are still there. But it's amazing that a young man is able to commit themselves to the study of scriptures, you know. Very, very honorable. Now, I'd like to recognize Angela Ambito, who is the founder and CEO of InfoTrack Research and Consulting. Angela, where are you? So that we just recognize you. There you go. Mpigeni makofi tafadhali. Asante sana for making time to be with us here today. And I'm pretty sure all of us have interacted with the findings of InfoTrack at one point or another. I don't know whether you should do one on how many of this young generation are reading books or not. It will be very interesting to know, so that even as we form our message, as we write books, you are able to reach this young generation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this particular moment, I'd like to welcome Ambassador Boaz Mbaya, who is going to also give us his insights in regards to his interaction with Ambassador Philip Richard Owade. Mpigeni makofi ya kuja tafadhali. Come on until he arrives. Ambassador, good to see you. The floor is yours.
Asante sana. Bwana Owade, thanks to you, we are here. I didn't even know there was an underground in this hotel the first time. To everybody else, he never warned me that I was going to make a statement. But he kept on asking whether I was going to come. So I said, yes, I'll come, and left the matter there. It is only this evening when he actually confirmed that I needed to say something about him. So if what I'm going to say disagrees with what the others have said, know that I'm also protesting. But I want to say this. I've known Ambassador Owade since he joined the ministry. I think he joined after me in the 80s, early 80s. And we served together. We journeyed together through many ups and downs. The thing I can testify to today is that, one, he's a very good student. He learns very quickly, and quickly he becomes a teacher at the same time. So when you're teaching him something, know tomorrow he'll be a teacher, eventually. And that is Ambassador Philip Richard Okanga Owade. But I stand here to say, not to talk about him as a person, because I think then we'll be telling the same story. I want to talk about Ambassador Owade as an officer. And as an officer who did great things for this country. I want to talk about Ambassador Owade reflecting on some of the very delicate issues that we handle together. That's what foreign policy means. And I want to say so because what foreign policy does to any state is to enable it survive in its external environment. Foreign policy enables a state to survive in its external environment. What do I mean? The Montevideo Convention of 1933 codified the system of recognition, establishment and recognition of states. That Montevideo Convention defines what a state is, what it does, its duties, and its obligations. So they're just basically three things. A state has rights. So Kenya has rights, which we exercise. Kenya also has duties to its citizens and to the rest of the world. And finally, has obligations. We must comply with the external environment in which we live. And those obligations are contained in documents known as treaties and conventions. Once you ratify those documents, you're bound by them. Our Constitution, 2010, has gone further. In its chapter 1, it says all foreign policy activities become part of the provision of the Constitution of Kenya. So anything we do as a country must, one, be legal, and two, it must be acceptable as per the international instruments that we have ratified. So how does Ambassador Owade come in? The title of his book is very telling, Between Law and Diplomacy. I haven't read the book about Owade, but I want to believe it has covered the essential aspects that all of us need to understand when you are dealing with foreign policy, so that foreign policy is not just a matter of activities Kenya undertakes abroad. There are activities Kenya undertakes abroad in compliance with the law. And it has to begin here. So when we see Kenya acting in a certain way, how do we understand it? And I want to believe that Ambassador Owade has brought out all those issues. The link between what Kenya is domestically and what Kenya should be internationally. It is the only way we are going to survive as a country. Amongst our meetings, we have a former minister. He was my minister when I was PS Foreign Affairs. And we worked very well with Owade, plus many other officers who are here, who have become ambassadors. And the level of consultation between the minister, the permanent secretary, the officers is intense. It's extremely intense. Nothing is left to chance. If you leave anything to chance, you miss the boat. And then you become like everybody's talking about the Titanic. You're talking about the Titanic. Imagine shuffling chairs in the Titanic. What difference is it going to make? It's already sunk, 100 years plus. It's already sunk. You can't bring it up. If you do, it will break to pieces. So don't let the boat sink. Basically, that's what we are saying. Don't let the boat sink. Ambassador Owade and others who are here, who have now been, as you've seen, some of them recognize those who are here, have gone through difficult situations to keep this country afloat. They have worked hard, and they have been selfless in their actions to make sure Kenya remains a strong nation which is understood by its competitors and foes alike as dependable because you are able to take decisions which you can justify. That's how foreign policy should be conducted. In addressing all these issues, I want to believe Ambassador Owade has brought them out just by the title, Between Law and Diplomacy. Because we should never forget that Kenya is an actor of international law. And as an actor of international law, it has to behave correctly. It is what earns you respect, and it is what enables other countries to collaborate with you, with the country, in terms of how we can move certain agenda from point A to point B. Imagine 1972, when we negotiated to host UNEP. 1973, when we negotiated to host Habitat. We had a very hard-working ambassador at the United Nations at that time, Odero Joey. I think he passed on, so may he rest in peace. Odero Joey. That's a man whom superpowers would consult because of how he conducted himself, what positions he took within the framework of our foreign policy dictum. And we had in Nairobi a minister known as Wayeki, Munyua Wayeki, man who was a medical practitioner but took to diplomacy like it was part of his DNA. It helped this country develop positions which have guided this country for many years. I hope we shall continue with that tradition. I hope Ambassador Owade has brought us to a level where we'll understand. Somebody criticized me on using the word nexus between law and diplomacy, but I want to use that word to emphasize my point. Because we need to understand all those issues for us to be able to move on. So what Ambassador Owade has done is to help us remember institutional memory. What has Kenya done? How has Kenya behaved? How did Kenya manage to convince a very divided world into which we were born to get UNEP and Habitat hosted in Nairobi? How have we managed to maintain the content of those two institutions in Nairobi? It is not an easy thing, and it is a continuous process all the time. So, since I wasn't prepared to speak, Ambassador Owade, with those few remarks, I just want to say thank you very much for what you've done. And I hope the other ambassadors will take a cue and also write their memoirs. I have myself done so, but I didn't write a memoir. I wrote a book on Kenya's foreign policy and diplomacy. It is sought after everywhere. And right now, nobody has written anything that updates that particular book I wrote. It was published in 2019. So, thank you very much for joining us. And I would like to urge our colleagues, don't keep that wealth of knowledge and go down with it to the grave. Because the grave knows it, to just chew it up. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Boaz Mbaya. Tumpigie makofi tena. All right. Before we proceed to remarks from the representative of Justice Oano Mbija, I'd like to recognize the Secretary General, Africa Telecommunications Union. Africa Telecommunications Union, the Secretary General is here with us today. Mr. John Omo, tafadhali let us appreciate him as he stands up. Thank you very much, Mr. John Omo, for gracing us with your presence. Also, from the world which I do operate from, and this is the media world, I'd like to recognize Mr. Victor Juma, all the way from Ramogi Radio and many other spaces. Where is Mr. Juma? Good to see you. Incredible. Thank you for making time to be here. We do appreciate it. At this particular moment, ladies and gentlemen, to get remarks on behalf of or representing Justice Nicholas Oano Mbija, I'd like to welcome the representative. Mpigeni makofi akikuja hadi afike. Yes, he'll introduce himself and proceed to give the remarks on behalf of Justice Ombida.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Owade, our host, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It might be difficult to notice and maybe even hard to believe, but I am not Justice Nicholas Ombija. My name is Gadiani, George Gadiani. I am a writer and a documentary filmmaker, and so I am deeply inspired whenever anybody has the bravery to share their story. Ambassador Owade, thank you. I do hope one day to achieve the heights that you've been able to achieve in your career and in your personal life, but it is unlikely I will ever be able to match your swagger. I am honored to represent Justice Nicholas Ombija, who could not be here today. He sends his regards. I would like to read a statement that he prepared, verbatim, and maybe give you some context in between. I will begin. And I quote, "Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would have loved to attend the occasion, but unfortunately, I am indisposed. To Ambassador Owade, first of all, I congratulate you for having the courage to chronicle the history we shared at Miranda High School in the 70s. I joined Miranda in 1970, and at that particular moment in time, the school lacked so many facilities." At this point, Justice Ombija had a really long pause as he remembered all the facilities that Miranda High School did not have. And then he continued. He said, "But in the context of today's gathering, I would limit the facilities we lacked to the library. There was no library that would help the students to undertake the task of passing exams. But nevertheless, we did the best with the scarcity of books and made it where most mortals would not have done so. I know for a fact the scarcity of the books because I was a librarian between 1971 and 1973. Be that as it may, we managed to pass our exams. I can remember that in my class, I was the only person who would eventually manage to reach the Faculty of Law at a time when it was not easy to get that opportunity. In our year, there were about 5,700 students looking for admission for a paltry 60 places in the faculty. And in Ambassador Owade's year, I think there were about 65 students. He also said, maybe you can correct him there. He says, if I stand to be corrected, and the ambassador managed to squeak through and get admission in the Faculty of Law with those paltry positions. The great achievement in respect to Ambassador Owade is that he managed to outshine most of the students from established schools. And I can remember that the thesis he wrote in his third year was a masterpiece. Justice Ombija would concur. Deserves a round of applause. That thesis was a must-read for students in the years later. In conclusion, in taking his time to write this book, to chronicle the history of Maranda, Ambassador Owade has been especially encouraging. And the Justice says that he too will follow in your footsteps. In 1 or 2 years, he hopes to manage to get something to add to what you have written, to fill the gaps, if there could be any. It is a wonderful book. And with those few words, the Justice congratulates you, Ambassador Owade, for sharing your story and this history. Thank you all very much.
That's incredible. Thank you very much, sir, for representing justice. Nicholas Owano Ombija. At this particular moment, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Adipo Sidang, are you in the building? Mr. Adipo, are you in the building? Ah, beautiful. So, what you're going to do, just stand there, so that I do justice to your introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, did you enjoy the poem by Habibi? That is beautiful, right? At this particular moment, in the spirit of poetry, okay, we would like to carry on. And maybe when Ambassador Owade will come here, even before he goes deeper into the book, he'll give us his favorite line from his favorite poem, because it shows you're a poetry fan. But at this particular moment, please help me welcome Mr. Adipo Sidang for another piece of poetry. Welcome, sir.
First, my congratulations to Ambassador Owade. I think this is a great achievement. I recognize everyone present. We are poets. We are not allowed to use titles because of poetic license. We can run away, get away with that. So yesterday, Ambassador called me and on a short notice asked me to come and perform or read a poem here. And because he's my elder, I had no choice but to oblige. So I will start, but I don't even know if this is a poem. It doesn't have a title. We're still thinking about it because it was microwaved a short while ago. But be that as it may, when you write a poem about a diplomat who's written his autobiography, that poem must have a title. But of course, the title can never be something like A Diplomat's Dance, because I'm not sure if Ambassador can really dance. Relax. But it sounds nice, beautiful alliteration if you studied poetry and literature in high school. And that's why that title must be A Diplomat's Dance, because I learned actually yesterday from someone that he was quite a wonderful dancer. Oh, yes. My apologies. Come to think of it, everything you will encounter in this book, including its footnotes or whatnot, is embedded with rhythm and rhyme and the temperate voice of a diplomat. And life is such a long, silent music that everyone dances to, including diplomats. As they create footsteps of a nation beyond ourselves without walking loudly. You see, diplomats are gifted differently. They can dance to no music. They smile even when their heart refuses to. So a diplomat's dance, that's the title. In Uyoma, a boy wakes up every day from a papyrus mat, like a bird from its nest, without a blanket. He carries a dream in his head, in his hands, in his chest, on his lips. For that's all he has. He is a pupil, a herds boy, a hunter of squirrels and hares, but a moving train in the body of a boy. He says, one day, maybe I will be a lawyer. Whatever follows is a story that carries its own song, swinging itself like a pendulum that questions time. As the raw waters of Lolwe lick her own sands, black as our own soil. Uyoma never was a barren land, never bare, never to be dismissed. So were her sons and daughters. She bore her bold cotton clay. She still bears it, the way Ambassador still dances. She thrusted dreams from her soil and lifted them to lands beyond Maranda, Nairobi, Geneva, wherever. Uyoma gifted this boy, this man, with a constant dream that never left his heart. Actually, this poem should be titled Between Dreaming and Believing, not A Diplomat's Dance. For the boy's heart blossomed into a plantation of dreams that danced in the wind, in a chorus, a performance, a prayer. If his mother lived to see this day, the boy, now a man, with a book to his name, like a shield where warriors etch their victories. Yes, the boy would tell his mother, you taught me how to pray, how to dream, how to believe. This poem would be like a plantation, a maize plantation in Uyoma that talks back at you if you chide them, or so the myth goes. Because sometimes life travels in a mythical way, in a surreal way. No, I changed my mind. This poem should be titled Between Dreaming and Believing. Should not be titled Between Dreaming and Believing, because it is insufficient. There is the part that is missing, becoming. What makes us whole? I would title it Between Law and Diplomacy, for therein lies the story untold, now told, with the dexterity of a skilled diplomat who picks words like grain, as Osogo the bird would in between plating a nest in the setting sun, that dips herself willingly into the edge or the edges of Lolwe. Finally, this poem is a celebration of knowledge. Our presence here, it is a demonstration that poetry can sometimes be microwaved on the spur of the moment. But stories like this must be told. They must take time. They must be cooked as you'd cook your nyoyo. So this poem reminds us that our lives cannot be microwaved on the spur of the moment and be served like a hot potato. Talking of that, a little bird once told me that it's only diplomats who've got the skill of juggling a hot potato until it becomes cold, and they would still serve it at the dinner table, probably in this hotel, as pizza or a buolo, and you'd still look forward to having that meal. I titled this poem, if at all it deserves a title, Thorn, the Indefatigable. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Wow. Tell your neighbor, wow. Can you even write close to that? Yeah? Wow. People are gifted out here. Yeah? Wow. That's incredible. Thank you very much, Adipo, for that poem that is deep and incredible. We really appreciate you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know we've been seated for a minute. I'll request you just for a minute. Please stand up wherever you are. Just stand up wherever you are. Just stand up wherever you are. Okay. You can raise your hand like this, your right hand, raise it like this, a little bit higher, because again, the Hitler situation, you might get misquoted, all right? Okay. Put it down. Your left hand, please. Your left hand. Thank you. All right. That's amazing. Now, the last test that I do, okay? It is called the one-legged test. These young people don't like to read. They do something called one-legged, okay? So, on your right hand, on your right leg, just stand on your right leg like this, a little bit. Maintain. Hey, without holding anything. Are we good? Is your neighbor good? On their right feet? Okay. I'd like us to go a little bit deeper, okay? So, we're going to do on our right feet, okay? Are we on our right feet? Then just go a little bit lower. Just go a little bit lower on your right feet. Just go a little bit lower. Maintain. Look at your neighbor. Tell them I'm your accountability partner. All right? Are we low? Some people are just saying yes while standing on their 2 feet. Okay, let's get higher. A little bit. All right, you can step on your 2 feet. Okay? Tell your neighbor, I know a gym somewhere. All right, let's have our seats, tafadhali. Now, a lot has been said about Ambassador and this book tonight, Between Law and Diplomacy. But the man who's been intentional enough to put words to paper and to make this evening a success, to sort of bring each and every single person, friends from primary, high school, all the way to his work engagement, and even post-diplomatic work engagement back in the county level, is about to speak to us. So when I welcomed this gentleman, he was told, we asked whether he's a good dancer. What did he say? He's a good dancer. Okay, who knows his favorite music? Lingala. You sure? Lingala. He had mastered all the 24 chapters of the book of Luke. So, somebody, that laptop, Ambassador, even as we do so, nitafutia hapo mziki mzuri. Okay. Unapenda mziki gani, by the way, Ambassador? Which one is your favorite? That you listen to, like this one?
Any good music.
Any good music? With a rhythm. Sawa. Tutafutia hapo any good music with a rhythm. That is quite huge. Sawa. So we are about to introduce the ambassador, but at this particular moment, even as we do so, because he's about to get on stage, I'd like to recognize a few people that are already, we had John Omo, we had recognized you, and Victor Juma, we had also recognized you. Thank you very much. I'd like to come to you, okay? I'd like to come to you, even as we take a short health break. By the way, I hope you guys are drinking the water. Yeah? You're drinking the water? Because water is life. That's why we intentionally put it there. Ambassador, good to see you. You're dressed very formally. I like it. Yeah, it's amazing. But for starters, because you haven't spoken to us, what was your first interaction with Ambassador Owade?
Thank you very much. I had not expected that the mic will come my way. But let me begin by saying that I think I was a spanner boy for some time. One is I worked under his tutorage, and I worked with him very closely, so I used to carry his handbag, and we had a number of trips, both within the country and outside. But I was just wondering, at some one point, there was this Nairobi Declaration on Small Arms and Light Weapons. I should have expected one, our former PS, Dr. Sally Kosgei, to be here, and Ambassador Wamoto, and one, Mr. Orlando, was the accountant. At the point, fairly young in service, I was tasked to be a coordinator, and we had a mission to undertake. So we are invited fourth floor in the office of the PS. And I think that was one of the moments that he stood so deeply with me. I think at the point, I was actually on the fan, nearly getting roasted, but he said, "P.S., I am responsible. Thank you."
Ooh, he's a man who takes responsibility. Incredible. That's interesting. And you used the word spanner boy. Ask the person sitting next to you, have you ever been a spanner boy anywhere? And did it leave you with traumas, or was it a good engagement? Like, have you gotten an opportunity to serve? You know, some of us want to start high, but you have to start somewhere. Now, I know Ambassador Macquarie is here with us. I haven't heard anything from him, but sir, while we were having sort of an interaction prior, it was very beautiful to hear some of the stories zenye mulikuwa mnapiga na ambassador himself. For you, this diplomatic journey, ambassador, this diplomatic journey, especially for us common folks, how exciting is it? And what was your interaction, one of the most exciting interactions that you had with Ambassador Owade during your time of service?
So you are eavesdropping, eh? When I was talking to Ambassador Owade. You are, weren't you? That's not diplomatic. You know? Ambassador Owade, there is a lot that I could talk about him when I was the Minister in Foreign Affairs. But in short, I worked with a very, very intelligent, efficient operator, one who helped me a lot, together with the permanent secretary, of course, in matters legal. And the Minister of Foreign Affairs, with that international connection, the role of a legal mind or a lawyer is extremely important. And him, together with a few others, they had played their part very well and made my work easy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now Antoine, one of the diplomatic principles, you never eavesdrop. Yeah? When you hear a story, block it in your mind, okay? Assume you haven't heard anything. Very, very important. But even as we do so, we are waiting for our chief address from Ambassador himself, who's coming in later on. I'm just looking in the room and walking around. Beautiful people. I haven't spoken to you. Madam, you look very nice, very colorful. I like it. It stands out. I'm not saying the rest of us are not looking as good, yeah? But it stands out in a very different way. Talk to me. What's your good name? And have you had any interactions with Ambassador Owade?
My good name is Karen Oyanda. Yes. Interaction with the ambassador. I remember him coming to our home to look for my kid sister. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Well, that's why I'm here. Yes.
Amazing. I see young people like this young man here. There is hope for you, all right? Yeah, very, very important. Always take the bold step, yeah? And would you introduce, yeah? Very, very important. And that's why functions happen here. And since you're an author and a filmmaker, I think that will be amazing. Okay, there's some beautiful, beautiful people still with us in the room. Now they're avoiding eye contact. They don't want to look at me because I might hand over the microphone to them. In fact, I'm just going to sit next to them. And, we start interacting and just beating stories. And, you're seated next to a speaker, so there's always a feedback. But what's your good... Onasasa. I knew you guys were not destined to speak. Let me just walk away. Okay. Thank you. Sir? I complimented your dressing. It's very bold. I like it. Your interaction, your first, what is your earliest memory when it comes to interacting with Ambassador Owade?
It's very difficult to say when you met the person you grew up with as a younger brother, because you can't remember anything when you were young. All that you can remember is that he was crawling after you. And after crawling, he joined the schools. Through the good performance, you could read that this person from Nyabera, Nyagogo, is doing very well. And by that time, we were sharing exams. So we came to know the people who are doing well and the people who are last. So the people who are last we were ignoring, and the people who are doing well we were tagging up with them. After that, I knew Ambassador Owade more closely when I chaired his wedding ceremony. And during that time, I think he liked dancing and he liked following his elder brother and a very close friend called Eli here. So we were joking that this person is so polite that whether he will keep friendship after getting married would be a real problem, because we were expecting now to telling you stay it, and yet you are also still yourself to know one another better. But that is not all. Ambassador Owade was a real woman, very welcoming. When my wife visited me in Geneva, Ambassador himself sent him a vehicle, and she was almost leaving me because he was saying, you have never even seen me off when I'm going, but Ambassador collected me from the airport, took me to the house, we ate so well, and took me back. So he gave me a challenge, and I say, now I have to do better. But not only that, we have come a long way with Ambassador, and I've never seen somebody who can avoid any controversy and can predict a lot of diplomacy moves. The last one, I think, was AUC contest in Ethiopia. What he predicted came to pass. And I think I really respect him for his mind, his keenness. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk about him. Thank you.
I appreciate him. Come on, guys. A gentleman he is. Ask your neighbor, have you ever seen off your wife or your husband? It can change everything, okay? It is the gentleman in him. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I'm not making people start reassessing their relationships here. Like, hey, what have I been into? Is a person as gentle and as caring as Owade? But that is who he is. So, at this particular moment, Ambassador, now after we've beat stories, are we ready? Sawa sawa. So, I like that song, first of all. I'm serious. Can you play that good song? So that we see this dancing that has been praised here in theory. In theory, we want to see practically how the ambassador himself can move. So at this particular moment, ladies and gentlemen, let us be on our feet, please, once more. Let's just stand up. Let's just stand up so that the ambassador dances also. You dance with him as he comes to give his address. So where's the music? You've seen any good music, yeah? You can just start by straightening your legs like this. Do like this, kidogo. Just nyosha, nyosha, nyosha. I don't want any muscle pull when you are dancing. We have any medic in the house? Daktari, you are here. So in case of anything, be ready to jump on the game. So, all right. Now these guys are looking for the volume button, even as they do so. Hey, that song is going so slow. Okay, let's go everybody just like this. Just kidogo, just move. Come on guys. Some of you it's just your internal organs are moving. Okay? Kidogo too. Can you get some volume? Lambalolo. Okay. Ambassador, just come with us. With that strategic move and diplomatic move, let's see how you move. Come on guys, wherever you are, just move a little bit as you encourage Ambassador to come. Even if you don't know what Lamba Lolo means, just move to it. Yes, sir. Ambassador, you want the young generation to read your book, you have to dance like them. They do this. Do that. That one is called, they do something called mapangale. It's not diplomatic, by the way, Ambassador. There is somebody who knows that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Help me welcome Ambassador Philip Richard Owade. Mpigeni makofi hadi akuche. Come on, it's the reason why we are here tonight. Mpigeni makofi hadi afike. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for making time and writing this wonderful book. The floor is yours, sir. Enjoy your presentation.
Thank you, thank you. Wow. Wow. I'm lost for words. You know, in that book, I described somewhere, I think in 1978, at the University of Nairobi, or was it 77, Wanomoto, when Ngugi wa Thiong'o was released from detention. Was it 78 or 77? 77. We were very new at the university. And we welcomed him and we carried him around the streets of Nairobi to the great court and wanted him to make a speech. And some of us had read his books. One of his greatest books was The River Between, where for the first time I got to have knowledge about the geography of Murang'a, the hills of Kameno and Makuyu, and the valleys there. But when Ngugi came, he could not address the crowds. We were very disappointed. Some of us who are scholars of literature, because this is a great writer. And then I realized there's a difference between writing and speaking. So today, as a writer, I have no words to say. Before this, I was a very good speaker. I mean, you can't be a diplomat who does not know how to talk. Then you should be recalled. Because a lot of our outside there is talking. But today I think I will talk through my book. And I don't need to speak because it is all there. It's about my life. As somebody said, I feel very vulnerable because I feel naked. Because I've exposed myself in that book. From the time I was born, you'll read in that chapter that in my family, I'm the only one who was not born in hospital. All the others were. But my mother just went to the lake, then went to the garden, and when I think she was weeding, then she felt like having a baby. There was not even anybody to assist her. What do they call that? Birth attendants. There was no birth attendant. Midwives. They were not there. So that's how I came into this world. And I've talked about all that. I've talked about many people who are very influential in my life. Some of them are here. Many of them have passed on. I'm privileged that a number of my colleagues are here tonight. We have acknowledged some, we have not acknowledged others. We apologize if we have not, but we have many, many friends here. I see Peter Mayo there. We have come from far. Mayo Jakanyadwera. They say you'd rather meet 8 hyenas than meet Mayo. Can you imagine how leech he is? Leech. That is English. The poets would agree with me. So I have talked about many things in the book. I think the question that I know many people are asking, that I will attempt to answer is, why have you written this book? 2 reasons. I think part of it has been said by the speakers before me, that any one of us has a story to tell. Any one of us has a story to tell. I'm a reader, and you cannot be a writer if you are not a reader. That one I can tell you. You have to be very widely read. Otherwise, I don't think you can be a writer without being a reader. One of my habits is reading. And as I worked all the years, in my budget, every month, I had to buy a book. Or several books. Just as you buy other things, you have to buy a book. I wish our young people today could develop that habit, because for them, everything is this phone. This is their companion, this is their friend, this is their book. I know there are books here, but you can't compare with a real book. So one of the reasons that I wrote this book was to record my story, which I was convinced at the telling. And as I'm saying, everybody has a story to tell. There's a book by a lady called Atieno Songa. Any of you who has read that book? It's called The Crevices, something about the crevices. I recommend that book to young people, particularly students, high school students and all that. Because she wrote that book. It's just her life in the village, her struggles in the village. The parents are dead, growing up with a grandmother, all those being subjected to those traditions that she never understood. Life at university. By the time she was writing this book, I think she was hardly 30, doing a PhD in South Africa. I don't know where she is now. But what am I saying? That anybody has a story to tell. Because you read that book, and it's not as voluminous as mine. By the way, my book would have been
much, much longer. I had to reduce quite a lot. Because you don't want a book of 600 pages. Who would read it? It will scare you off. So that was one reason, to encourage us to tell our stories. The other, of course, was to record some of the experiences that I've had. And as I said, I'm privileged that some of my colleagues who are really my bosses are here today. Ambassador Mbaya, I took over from him in the ministry as Director for Political Affairs, and later on he became my boss as PS. Ali Chirao Makwere, Honorable, was the minister who was very instrumental in my appointment as ambassador. Thank you. Give him a clap. Was it stand up? Stand up so that these people can see you. I owe my appointment to this guy. Yeah. And Ambassador Makwere has a very unique history because he started, I had a paper where I had his history, but I've misplaced it. He started as a desk officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Baluzi, just sit down. He rose, he became a Foreign Service officer. He became ambassador and high commissioner. He became special envoy to the Great Lakes region. That's when I met him. He later on became assistant minister for foreign affairs, and he became the minister for foreign affairs. So you can imagine, he went through the entire system. Now, one other reason why I wrote this book is because I worked with some very great people throughout my life. Very great people. John Robert Ouko. I've talked about him at length in the book, and we learned a lot from him. Sally Kosgei was our boss for a long time. Bethuel Kiplagat was our PS for a long time. Ambassador Francis Muthaura, he would have been here, but I think he's out of the country. That's one person who really mentored me in many ways. I was his deputy in New York. Professor Karega Mutai was after I finished diplomatic tour, I had the privilege to serve in the Ministry of Local Government as we were transforming, as we were passing the devolution laws. And I've talked about the devolution chapter in the book. Of course, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi was our DPM and Minister for Local Government. Later on, I worked with in the Ministry of Devolution with Governor of Kirinyaga, and now. Then, after I retired, I had the privilege and honor to work with Governor Amoth Rasanga, Colonel, who is here. Governor, I'm very happy. And again, you know, allow me to say this because I've said it in my book. Life is a combination of choices, some of which you make, some of which are made for you, some are made by circumstances beyond you. That's what makes who you are. When Governor Rasanga was, as has been said, was a class behind me at Maranda and at the university as well. And when he wanted to go into politics, he came to my office, Governor, I don't know whether you remember, to tell me that he wanted to be governor of Siaya. Well, as a diplomat, I didn't tell him, you have no chance. But that's what I thought. That's what I thought. You know, I say there, diplomacy is the art of telling someone. I think somebody talked about it. telling someone to go to hell in a manner that he looks forward to the trip. Yeah, he looks forward to the trip. So I didn't tell him, you have no chance. Why are you wasting your money? But you see, he became the governor. And that is life. You sometimes have to be bold, even when people write you off. And you make a choice, and other things come into play. I don't know what else you want me to say about the book, because the book is here to read. But it captures my whole life from the village up to my service in Siaya as the county attorney of Siaya. A life of over, I don't know how many years, the whole of my life, although I'm only 18. Now, somebody asked me to recite a poem, if I can remember a poem. The DJ, I think I can remember Shakespeare. How many of you read Romeo? Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet. Oh yes, we did. I still remember it today. Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Forget thy name and forget your father. For what is in a name that when you call a rose by any other name, it will smell as sweet? I think the last phrase you know. Yeah. So I can still cite poetry. When Omondi said that, Dr. Omondi said that, at Miranda, we had a very interesting class. We were about 10 students that were so competitive that if you are number one, you could be number two second term. And the 5, 6 there, you are just there. I know Omondi was number one at one time. I was number one at that time. Omondi, the engineer, the one who went to the US, Otiena Oro, Omondi Kijaro, Abayo Podo, the doctor in Nakuru. He was to come, but he told me that he had an incident in his village at home, I think, so he had gone to sort it out. And what does that tell us? Competition is very good. We were competing. And I think because of that, we passed so highly. Miranda didn't just come up the other day. Because people say, you remember when they were number one nationally? And people are saying, where is this school come from? No, that school has been there. We were there. It has been there. So what am I saying? These are some of the opportunities or situations that guided our future. There were tough moments, I think, as the speech from Justice Ombija has pointed out. Very tough moments, because it was a very rural school. We didn't even have water, proper water. Sometimes you had to go down to the bush to fetch water. And then you come and join people from Nairobi School, from Lenana, from Kenya High, and you compete with them. I think I will do more in the Q&A section, because to cover the whole of that book, I think I've done some justice to it. And I would want to really encourage young people to read and to write. Because, if I was in the US, with this book, I would be a dollar millionaire. One of the richest people in the US, is Barack Hussein Obama. Not from being president, but from his books, beginning with The Dreams of My Father, where he writes about his father. And I think I've also talked about his father in this book, because I knew his father. The day he died, we were the last people with him at Kaloleni, before he got that accident in Upper Hill in 1982. And then he wrote The Audacity of Hope. I think he wrote The Promised Land. Michelle has also written 2 books, Becoming, and I can't remember the other one. I enjoy autobiographies. I've read all those books. But the Americans read. They read. I want to encourage us to have the culture of reading, because otherwise we'll just be an illiterate society. Yeah, if you don't read, all that you learned in school just decays. I think that is the word I would really want to say. I think those are the remarks I want to make. Otherwise, I know people who have read this book. Some are here. I have one in the village he would have been here, who was my desk mate in primary school. But I see the son here. Kevin, can you stand up? This guy, I think you see him on TV. He's called Kevin Osido. He's from my village. His father was my desk mate in primary school. And he's among the people who has read this book. He has a lot of praise for it. Dr. Omondi, Canon Omondi, I know, has read the book, and is even a critic of the book. I think he knows every line of this book. I met somebody outside there. No, not even somebody, Dr. Otieno. Who has, Reverend Otieno, who has read the book and is reading it the second time. What does it mean to read a book a second time? And it's not a text, it's not an examination. You know, what do you call those books? Set book, yeah. It is not a set book for examination, and is reading it for the second time. What does that tell you? That I know somebody who told me that since I started reading this book, I can't put it down. I'm not praising myself, but those are the reactions that I've received about the book. So read the book. What more do I tell you? Because it is there. But I can answer questions. Thank you. I think that's all I can say. Asante Nisan. Asante Nisan. As I said, they are great people I've worked with. I think some of them were acknowledged. Michael Yugi. I think I've remembered another thing I wanted to say, why I wrote the book. It was in my mind, but it was escaping. I wanted to demystify the notion that diplomats only go for parties, receptions. You know, that's all they do. The cocktails, you know. But even if you leave out diplomats, even civil servants, they say they just hang their coat there and they do their business. All my life, all my public life, there was not a single day that you do that. Even time to go to the bank to do your own things was hardly there. You know, so I wanted to demystify that notion that diplomats are just, when you go to a party, it's a function. You know, even when you are eating or drinking, you are doing it on behalf, you are networking. And that's why you cannot even, a diplomat can pretend that he's having a drink, but he only has water. Or he will have a glass the whole evening. Because you also don't want to be drunk. If you are drunk, you can embarrass your country. And what happens when you embarrass your country? You are recalled. Yeah, so it is not an easy task, particularly the stations I served in, particularly the two multilateral stations, New York and Geneva. Those are stations where you work even up to night. In New York, there was a time, particularly during the General Assembly, I was in the 5th committee that deals with budget and administrative issues. Yes, and if Muthaura is your boss, for whom nothing is postponed, you know, everything is finished that day. You would work until morning. And then, of course, the intricacies of negotiations. You would go over issues over and over and over until you reach a decision one way or the other. So I think those are the general remarks I can make. I have extensive notes that I wanted to present on the book. That's why I carried the iPad. Another question I'm asked is, I think I'll answer two questions, then I sit down. how did you keep a diary? How did you remember all these things? I must say that I was gifted with good memory. I'm a very poor keeper of records, but I have a memory. So it's telling your story. I think telling your life, even from the perspective of work, is something you can do without reference. I see there are two colleagues here. Has Catherine gone? Catherine has gone, eh? Catherine Mogaka, or Catherine Onyoni, is a retired, she has retired, isn't she? It's a retired ambassador. But it's interesting that his father was my first ambassador in Tokyo, Kefa Onyoni. I have Muthu Gitonga here. Gitonga has also just retired as ambassador. And his father, Philip Gichuru Gitonga, was my second ambassador in Tokyo. And he's still alive. You must buy a book for him. I know I've autographed for you. I must autograph for your father. Those are the people who mentored me in service. Yeah, there's something else I've forgotten that I was going to say, but I think it will come in the Q&A. I want to thank everybody who is here. I hope you will get a copy of the book, and I will gladly autograph it for you. Asanteni sana. Thank you. Thank you. Where's the...
Okay, as Ambassador consults, can we please put our hands together for a round of applause? And thank you, Ambassador. I think it's really great listening to his insights about the book, and we'll be hearing more during the Q&A session after this coming session. Before I hand over the microphone to Ambassador. Q&A. Okay, fine. So we'll have the Q&A first. I'd like to invite Reverend Canon Francis Omondi, PhD. That confirms he's a Luo. PhD. Yes. So we'll need 2 seats here. Yes. So just the DJ, please keep us entertained with Ambassador's favorite number. Yeah, we can move this.
Please, I want to welcome you to take your seat. My name is Francis Omondi. I've been very, very privileged to have received this book when it was out. I've thoroughly read it, every line of it. Been fascinated. I actually did not know him, but through reading this book, I've got to know him a little more. We share a heritage. I also sojourned in Wioma, his home area, and so I got to know him a little well. I had several questions for him, but much more to invite you to listen into the issues he's discussed. The point is, okay. It's all right. Okay, just move yours here. Okay. The point is, he did not gloss over issues that he was discussing. Okay. He did not gloss over the issues he's discussing. Some were very intricate. Can I have Yeah, you could use that. Okay. It is in amazing details. Of course, doing it from memory, he also left out some details, but things he remembered, he discussed very well. I want to keep the questions within law and diplomacy, and hope this will interest you into reading this. My goal is to have you read the book. Ambassador, your teacher, Okoth Ogendo, in this same book, page 90, he wrote and asked you, Owade, why do you want to join foreign department? For him, you are such a good law student, and as it was his habit, Okoth Ogendo fished very bright students, took them abroad, and brought them, people like Githu Mungai and others. You were in that same class. Why did you join foreign department?
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question, and I think I've answered it in the book. Yes, it's true that I was among the top students at the university. Actually, I was expecting a number of my classmates. Why you invite classmates is that so if you are just telling stories, they can say no. But you had my and a schoolmate say that I knew Luke from the beginning to the end. But because I was the best in RK, they thought I knew it inside out, you know? Yeah, so back to your question. I was, of course, among the best students. At that time, there was a program known as the Talent Development Program. I think it is still there. I don't know whether it's still there, where they identified good students and they were offered scholarship. So I was offered a scholarship to go and do a master's LLM at the University of Nairobi. But at that time, if you remember, we were finishing in 1980. The system in Moi was becoming a bit, you know, I want to be a diplomat even after he's gone. There was a lot of uneasiness in the country. Banomoto would tell you a lot of our classmates were expelled. Utieno Kajwang, for instance, even Omoto himself, Muisa Kitui, so many were expelled in 1979. Why? Just because they participated in what do you call it?
Demonstration.
Not demonstration. Kamkunji. They addressed students at a Kamkunji. And everybody who addressed students at that time were expelled. I escaped because I was more of a pamphleteer. I think I started writing early. And I've written about that in the book.
Thank you.
I would write pamphlets and post them, and you go there early in the morning, and you are reading and you are saying, point, but you are the one who read it. I mean, who wrote it?
Okay, thank you.
So I want to complete the answer. So I felt that it was not the time to go back to the University of Nairobi. I wanted to go and finish with a School of Law and maybe do a master's later. But the story of Okoth Ogendo is very interesting, if I may complete it. It is in the book. So I told him that, you know, sometimes you give somebody the answer that you think he needs. I told him, no, I want to join Foreign Affairs so that I can get a scholarship, go and study abroad, and come and teach at the university. Then Okoth was very humorous. Okoth told me, is that so? So I will tell them exactly that. So I told him, tell who? So he said, you know, Owade, you cannot do anything without me. Kumbe, they had referred to him. You know, before you join diplomacy, particularly at that time, even now, to join government, they do a lot of background checking. So they had written to him and said, we want to appoint these students. What would be your recommendation? So, you know, after a lengthy discussion, he told me, do you remember my reading list? And then I was wondering, what is the connection between reading list and me joining Foreign Affairs? So he told me, you know, my recommendation is the following are compulsory choices.
Okay,
Yeah.
stop there. Let them read it in the book.
Yeah, that is in the book.
Let them
That
read
is
it
in the book. Thank you, thank you.
Around page 93, you'll find that illustration. Okay, I have one other question. You are a Luo. That time it was tense, and you're going to work for Moi government. It was very difficult. How would you really balance, because there was demand from the Luo people that you would support them if you had a status in government? I want to refer you to page 214, when you had gone on with some Luo elders to meet the minister. And Sally Kosgei later asked you, I thought it was a rebuke, saying, what were you doing with those Luos in the minister's office? Can you tell us a bit about that?
No, I think it was a joke.
All right.
Yeah, that was Sally's way of speaking. Of course, by coincidence, there were, of course, a number of
what was the issue?
The issue was, you know, the minister then was Bonaya Godana, Adi Bonaya Godana. There was Professor Thomas Odhiambo, who was the MD, what is that, of Isipe. There was issue of land, Isipe land. Okay. So Odhiambo came to see Bonaya Godana with a number of, it happened by chance, Luos. Professor E.S. Atieno Odhiambo, the late. This guy from Asembo, I can't remember his name. The Prime Minister himself was there, and several other people. Yeah, so the issue was, what can we do to rescue that land, I mean, to sort out the land problem, the Isipe land problem. So Sally was just joking. I don't think she was being tribalistic.
All right.
Yeah.
But how come? Yeah. How come she was saying, let's see what will happen?
Well, because sometimes, I think what she was saying, the issue was very intricate.
All right.
Yeah. It was beyond me as a legal advisor. At that time, it was beyond me as a legal advisor or as a political advisor to resolve that land issue.
Diplomacy is one of the things you write, because in your book, it is written law and diplomacy. I want you to turn to page 226 and read for us one of the most difficult times, I suspect, 227, 226. Just that paragraph 227. That starts during the weekend. All right. Here's the background. He had been political affairs head at the ministry, the director at the ministry, which was almost the third level in that office. He actually had handled so many things. But towards the change, he was being sent as a deputy to Dr. Amina Mohammed. That was way, way back. Everybody complained that this was such a demotion. Were they victimizing a Luo or something? He had a dilemma, not knowing what to do. We're being sent to Geneva, right?
Yes.
Now, tell us, read for us a little bit snippet, just how family, listen, how family became helpful in decision-making during this time. You talk of Kezia very kindly. Yeah. Could you just read for us to give us appetite to go out and find this ourselves?
Okay.
Please.
If you insist, otherwise I would be shy to read it.
Okay.
I think you have given a good background. Yes, it was a difficult time. I think people like Barine can tell you, because I was working with them. Many of them came to tell me that, no, I'm not going to congratulate you. because they felt that it was not right. But these are issues you deal with in government. So I think what you want me to read, I said, during that weekend, I consulted my wife, Kesia, who was ever as sober as a judge and as wise as King Solomon. I told her, can you believe they want to post me as deputy head of mission after I've toiled for them all these years? Her response was prompt and positive. But Victor, what is your problem? Swallow your pride and take up the posting. We have been here for 4 good years. Victor is sitting his exams and will proceed to university. The chances are that he would not fit in local universities, having undertaken most of his studies abroad. Mike is proceeding to university the following year, and with IBE program, he would only fit in universities in the UK. Where shall we get their fees? This is a godsend opportunity. Can we really afford their university education from here? If God had willed that you will be an ambassador, which I believe he has, nobody can take that away from you. Take the posting and let us prepare to get out of here before the elections. She uttered these words with the calmness and composure of a mother. I had no option but to agree.
Can we clap for her? See, in this I'm seeing the value of spouses in assisting diplomats, that it is so wise sometimes to rely on them. And that was very interesting. Thank you very much. But you want to read a lot more of how he interacted and how Mama Kezia was very instrumental in his life. You find a lot of that is written, capturing a lot of that in his book. Your book is essentially not about family. It's about law and diplomacy.
Yeah.
I found several instances where there was a confluence of both law and diplomacy, and wondered how both skills in diplomacy and law helped you weave through. I want to bring to all of us to our attention the recent event. Abdullah Öcalan, the man in the Kurdish rebel, who at that time was a refugee in Greece, but happened to appear in this country and was nabbed. That morning, you had not known what was going on. You appear in the office.
Ambassador Bayer.
Yes, you appear in the office. Ambassador, please. What did you guys do about Abdullah Öcalan? Because recently you have been vindicated. But this needed a quick legal opinion and diplomacy at the same time. And this was a very classic case of blending the two. What happened? How did Öcalan land in Kenya? And how did you people let your refugee, someone under your care, being nabbed and taken back to Turkey? I'm not asking you. I'm trying to ask Ambassador. When you're confronted with this? What was going on in your mind? And tell us what you wrote.
I've discussed this with Ambassador Mbaya severally, and he tells me that he does not have the courage to write about that incident. But what I've done is to write what was in the public domain.
Okay.
So what happened behind the scenes, maybe we'll never know.
So what was this in the public domain? Many of us here, I guess, if I asked, you will never remember that Abdullah Öcalan was actually arrested in this country.
In this country, yes.
And it was such an embarrassment, diplomatic thing for us, Kenya. Okay, all right. That's a loaded word in this Kenya.
No, Abdullah Öcalan's case was very interesting. He came in.
What was your legal opinion?
My legal opinion. Okay. Actually, I described that story. Ambassador Mbaya was the director for political affairs. I was still then, I think, legal advisor. It was, and by the way, everything I talk about here, people may ask, what do you call the civil servant's secret oath? Have I, one way or another, violated it? No. I have completely avoided things which are confidential.
Okay.
and only talks about things which are in the public domain. I'm very careful to do that. So when you write a book, there are certain things that maybe Ambassador Mbaya knows, but he would not disclose. Okay. But what happened that morning is that we had what you call a senior staff meeting. And then I think that's when word came that this guy was around. The minister called the PS called Mbaya, Ambassador Mbaya called me. The opinion they wanted is, this guy is here. What do we do? So in refugee law, there is a doctrine of non-refoulement. That's a French word. People pronounce it refoulement, but it's refoulement. Where a person who stands the danger of being persecuted in his country cannot be returned. So if we are all signatories to the refugee conventions. So the advice I gave was that no, you cannot return the man to anywhere where he is the danger of being persecuted. And then we were assured he would be returned to Greece, because it is the Greek ambassador who had accepted it in Nairobi.
Okay, but since he was in a diplomat's heart, and
it was in the hands of the house of a diplomat. It was in the hands of a Greek ambassador. Yes.
What business did Kenya have to do with that?
No, because it's wanted everywhere and it's here on our soil. That morning, I can tell you, when Ambassador Mbaya left me in his office as they went to State House.
Okay.
No, I want to tell you this. Phones were ringing from all over our missions in Europe, because word had gone out. Word had gone out that man was here in Kenya.
All right.
Yeah, so that was the public
Thank you, people.
interest. Yeah.
I just want you to read that story, how he narrates it from page 229 of that book. If you have bought it already, if you haven't, please get a piece and just follow that story and fill up the gaps.
No.
You will write.
No, I don't want you to. I don't want you to write. I'm not putting you on the spot. Yeah.
All right. Law and diplomacy. Kenya was notoriously, at that time, around 1980, in the 80s, where we had issues with police brutality. The commission was set up of Philip Armstrong and report.
This is 2006 and 7. Yeah, 2007.
And there was a lot of issues. As Ambassador Mbaya had indicated, that we were signatories to human rights. We were not protecting our people. The law was not being kept. I know you are a student activist, and you had ideals of human rights. How are you going to reconcile that dilemma of your own persuasion, a country that was running to the dogs in human rights issues, and trying to solve it well? Now you are in Geneva, and in Geneva, it was a human rights challenge. And to add that to injury, there was a Miguna coming to kind of raise the rabble and push that Kenya should be condemned. Explain to us whether the boat was sinking and what was your role in trying to moderate and bring Kenya through that issue?
Yeah, first I was in Geneva. One of my duties was to represent Kenya at the Human Rights Council, which had just been established, I think, in 2003 or 4 earlier. Yeah. At the council, there was a move for countries to accept what we call special rapporteurs, so that we engage them. And even as a member state, Michael Yugi, you will remember, we were encouraging even our own government to engage with the institutions of special rapporteurs. So there was this special rapporteur, Philip Alston, and an Australian, on extrajudicial killings. I think an issue which is even prevalent in Kenya now, the abductions and all that. I think now it's not much of killing. You will remember in 07, when we had the coalition government.
Yes.
And the coalition government at that time was torn into two. You know, there was one, there was
ODM.
There's ODM.
And the KNAC, and the PNU.
And PNU, yeah. So two delegations came to Geneva because these teams were not meeting eye to eye. And they wanted to make different statements at the council, the Human Rights Council. There were 6 ministers on one side, 6 ministers on the other side. And you know, that is a tough situation. So as a diplomat, what I did, because I represent Kenya, I put them down and persuaded them. I told them, no, you cannot make 2 statements at the UN because we are only one country. We have disputes there, we have issues there, because ODM wing felt that the government was not doing enough, although they were in government by that time. Yeah, and the other party was defensive. So anyway, I managed to persuade them to write one statement, which was read by Professor George Saitoti,
okay,
who was then the Minister for Internal Security. But after the statement was read, I think it was a Friday, Miguna, who was then political advisor to the Prime Minister, got to town. He felt that that statement was a sellout, that we had sold our country for the cheap. So he wanted to go to the UN and correct, tell them the truth.
Okay.
That statement had not, because you know, a diplomatic statement, we acknowledge some things,
it's diplomatic.
We said what we were doing to address them, and so on and so forth. Miguna thought that was not enough. So my issue now, how do I handle that situation? Read the rest in the book.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But he was able to cage Miguna, though there was tantrums all over Geneva. But I would love you to read what he says in this. Just a few more, and then we will be done. One, your friend and your mentor, Muthu, posed a question to you when Kibaki had wanted to appoint you to Washington. You find that in page 244. And his problem was they had earmarked you to Washington, which was the topmost diplomatic position, one of the topmost diplomatic positions. But it appears that the then Prime Minister, Raila Amolo, who comes from your same region, opposed it. Preferred someone else instead of you. So Muthu poses this question, and I quote, what did you do to Raila? Why would he oppose your being posted to Washington? Can you...
So what do you want me to say?
What is wrong with you? Why are you always not ganging? When you get such a gang, you bring everybody to it. What is this about you people?
No. It is not that.
What was the issue?
It is just that, you see, Raila is a politician.
Okay.
And politicians have their own way of doing things.
Okay.
They have a lot of considerations to make before they make. Not that he had anything against me. I've never had anything. You know, there was never anything.
Thank you for clearing the air. Let's not do much, but read the tone with which he writes it. It shows you that is more congruent to what he is actually telling us. I want to give you a very hard one now.
All those have been very hard. So you want to give a harder one?
Yes. Sally Kosgei, Ambassador Kiplagat, Muthu, Kamau. Was it Kamau? New York, who had to get you out?
Joguna Maugo.
Joguna, yes.
Yeah.
What did you learn from these people?
Well, I think I've
just one, and then people can read what you have said.
I think I've written about Muthu at length.
Yes.
And From him, I learned about leadership.
Okay.
Muthu, and I would really have loved him to be here. I'm really missing him. Muthu is, long before he became the public service head, is a very seasoned diplomat. Great thinker.
Makofi kwa Muthu.
Yeah. But what I really learned from him is that to be a good leader, you must have self-confidence.
Good.
And if you have self-confidence, you have confidence in yourself, you will have confidence in others. You will then trust others. But if you don't have self-confidence, you suspect everybody who is working under you. Okay. You think they are undermining you, they are overshadowing you, and all that.
All right.
I think that's what I can say. Of course, I think I've described my working relationship with Dr. Sally Kosgei. Brilliant, kabisa, kabisa.
Makofi kwa Sally.
Yeah. We would foresee things, because before she became PhD, she was High Commissioner in London, and she had also served in Harare. So she could foresee things. I describe in that book some of the issues I think that she helped this country to navigate.
Correct.
So I also learned a lot from P.S. Karega Mutai,
okay,
that I worked with in local government. Again, a workaholic, completely trusts, because I was his deputy as secretary for local authorities, total trust. And I think that's what I would say. You know, if you really want your officers, if you want to get the best from them, you must trust them and give them confidence. And to give that confidence, you must have confidence in yourself. I'm not going to talk about the others.
All right.
They will read that.
Okay, we'll leave that for people to read.
They will read that in the book.
Okay, of your ministers, Dr. John Robert Ouko, Bonaya
Godana, Ndoloya,
Kirao Makwere. Excuse me, I'm still asking the question. I'm still asking the question.
I'm just enumerating them for you.
And Kalonzo Musyoka.
And Kalonzo Musyoka, yes.
Now, all these things, who stands out to have helped you ground yourself in government, especially this difficult time? Who made your work a little easier? I'm thinking about you as leading a delegation arriving in Libya, and a story is called that Kenya is experiencing a coup. How do you behave? And those in the coup happen to be Luos. So someone asks you, you ni Wajaruo, mnataka kubadilisha serikali. How do you navigate that?
Well, again, I think I've talked about that at length, but to answer your question, the minister then was Robert John Ouko, one of the most brilliant foreign ministers Kenya ever had. And I've talked about him at length, and a lot of that I learned about him. He taught us, for instance, the notion of loyalty. He told us that in this job, your loyalty is to your country and to your president. If you have different ideas,
keep it to yourself.
Keep it to yourself or give way. There's no other way. You know, so, and I think he believed in that to his death, the notion of loyalty. I think I've talked about other ministers. I've talked about the roles they played. I've talked about the role Ambassador Makwere played in my own career and in my own appointment. I've acknowledged that. So I think I will. The rest read in the book.
Okay, thank you.
And the rest read in the book.
And almost finally, do you want to read for us something from your book? Yes, I was suggesting, you see, you indicated a lot, there is a lot of humor in this book, a lot of vulnerability, a lot of openness. I would like to ask if you're happy or if you're willing to read for us page 73.
No, that is very early life.
Yeah. How youthful you are. I can see youth here, so I just want to see. Why did you have to...
You are being very naughty. You are being very naughty. I will not read that. I will not read that. You know...
Why did you have to run so fast in the night?
Even my good teacher, this guy was with my teacher today, retired Chief Justice Willie Mutunga,
yes.
who was my teacher, and I've talked about him at length in the book.
Yes.
And so Mutunga called me. He was with this guy, and Mutunga called me. And he told him, when I was hearing, that I must not talk about this.
Okay.
And yet you are bringing me there.
All right, I will. All right, can you find the humor for yourself? Can you read the humor? What made me so much laugh?
Yeah.
On page 73 of this book.
I have even my mother.
I understand.
My mother-in-law.
I stopped there.
Those are what he's referring to are the adventures of a 20-year-old man in Bungoma, where I worked. So I've described some of those. That's humor for you. You have to, yeah.
All right, thank you very much for being very attentive to our questioning. But just before I sign off, I am a preacher, and I always tend to scamper through biographies to find illustrations for both scriptures and on. Yeah. I found this book very helpful to me and my colleagues. You will find this thing also a great illustration. One, how your father dealt with his livestock. His father called and knew his flock by name. One day they go looking after cattle, that you find out on page 11. They go looking after cattle, and all, I don't know, they were swimming, they were doing what? All the flock got lost. They get home without anything. And their father was livid. And they tell him of what happened. He does not respond, but he asks for his jacket, his rungu, and his spear. And then he leaves and goes to the lake shore, near where they were looking after cattle. And when he gets here in the pitch night, he starts calling the cattle by name. But he focuses on the lead bull called Kondo. Kondo had been gotten through a friend from Lusinga Island. And the bull was the leader of the other flock. And he decided when these guys were playing, not paying attention, to lead the whole flock back to Lusinga. All that stopped them was the lake. They could not cross. So they were there in the thicket in the night. So he started calling them, Kondo, giving them praise words, really calling them by name, calling one after the other, calling him. And then the bull suddenly responded, shaking the bell on its neck, and started kicking others, knocking others, and marshalling them all together to come to where the owner was calling them. The scripture in John 10 says, "My sheep hear my voice, and they follow me." This was such a powerful illustration for me as a speaker, as a preacher, to see how Jesus also says that my sheep hear my voice. They had such affinity. And for many of us who think that we are disconnected from nature, here is our tremendous illustration that nature do respond. But what fascinated me, you find in page 12, Adem Konyang.
Adem dog.
Adem dog. Here was, they had a crisis of school fees. They didn't know how they would raise money to pay for everybody's school fees in secondary school. So they decided one of the bulls must be sold. So they chose the big, well-bred, and everyone knew it and was salivating for it. They went down to Aram next to Asembo. And everyone, the brokers were looking at the cattle and saying, I want this. So everyone made a bid for the cow. But they reached a certain point, 45 shillings, no, 450. But and they refused to sell it for that. The money he gave was 520. He wanted 520 for his bull. So no one could afford that amount to pay the bull. So very proudly, he takes his bull back. And poor Owade Ragwanda, had to take the cow back home with the praise of his father. I'm seeing the value the father put on his flock. He determined the price, and he won't let anyone devalue his work. That was a proud old man. I can see him in you. Congratulations for a book well written.
That scene, I think many of us have gone through that, where you want to get rid of something, and yet you want to keep it.
Yeah.
So, but what amazed me, because I was a young boy, what amazed me was how proud he was that he did not sell. So I was saying, but this Mzee took his cow to the market, and he's happy that he did not sell.
He was more happy that he did not sell. The value you put on things that are yours. I'm very proud of you, my friend.
Thank you.
I've got to know you better.
Thank you.
And I still want to know you better. My only encouragement is, can we get your thesis published as a book?
Thank
and
you.
can we do more of you as a lawyer?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I highly recommend this book for your reading and reading. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.
MC.
Thank you, Reverend Canon Francis Omondi, for the wonderful Q&A session. I know maybe there are people in the audience who would have loved to ask questions, so we may think about that later. Or in the world of social media, you can always drop a question to Ambassador, even on Facebook or Twitter, and maybe TikTok. But thank you for the session. Let's put our hands together. Thank you. So next, I'm inviting Dr. Charles Dulo. He's the chair of the Commission for Administration of Justice, CAJ, or what we know as Ombudsman. Where I come from, we had the first ombudsman. So he used to tell us that I'm the ombudsman. He's our current member of parliament, though. So welcome, Daktari. Welcome, Daktari, for your brief remarks before we move on to the next session. Thank you.
Good evening. You know, I don't know what to say after such a powerful session. Again, after being introduced as an ombudsman, then you don't know whether I'm speaking formally or I'm supposed to speak like I was meant to speak. First of all, I'm very sorry. I was meant to give the opening remarks, But as we say, lawyers don't get late, they get delayed. So I was delayed, so my position was taken. But then there was a reason why I didn't want to come. It's because I was told I'm going to speak, but he had not given me the guest list. So I didn't know how to start asking people about the protocols. Now I'm coming in, I can say all protocols observed. So I'm riding in on the already established protocol. But at that time, how was I going to create a protocol myself? It was going to be very difficult. But I'm not an ambassador. The only thing I know about diplomacy is non-aligned. That is the only thing that I used to know during Moi's time. And you are non-aligned, which means you don't interfere, you don't say anything, you don't take sides. So even here, I will be non-aligned. I will not take any sides, but I will say congratulations. Richard, maybe just to say what I would have said then, is my uncle. I'm related to him, so I know him from the time he came to get a beautiful lady in our place. We have still continued. He comes home, and the other thing which they didn't say, which I can say, even though in the cocktail he doesn't drink, he will take water. But when he comes home, he takes Glenfiddich, 18-year-old. And you know what that can do? It's a fine Scotch whiskey. Is it malt or something? I don't know. It's a single malt, you see? He even knows. So thank you very much. I want to say congratulations. So if you hear him talking about Omena from Kezia, know that I represent Kezia. So that is why I'm here. As I pen off, and thank you very much. As he has said, I'm the chairperson of the Commission on Administrative Justice. Just got into the office. We are still finding our footing. It's a very interesting position. So if you have anything, please come. Our doors are open and we'll deal with it. With those very many remarks, I say thank you very much and karibuni.
Thank you, Daktari. Thank you. That was brief and to the point. So the next session, these shoes are too big for my feet, so I'm going to invite Ambassador to come and invite the next speaker. And my request to him as he comes is to ask the next speaker to at least serve as a short praise name poetry or virtue boasting, what was called park rock, because he's known for that. Thank you.
Wow, park rock. I think the next speaker I have the honor and pleasure to invite Honorable Ambassador Ali Chirao Mwakwere. Zipapa. And after that, we'll invite Governor Kanal Rasanga to make his remarks. And then we will interact. I think we can still even have the Q&A after this. Ambassador. He has many titles. He's been ambassador, he's been an officer, he has been a minister, he has been an MP, he has been a leader of a party.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Piero Owade. Colleague ambassadors, friends of Ambassador Owade, relatives, ladies and gentlemen. Ambassador Owade introduced me appropriately. He only forgot to refer to me as the Z Papa. Did he say it? I did. Ambassador Owade is a very interesting man. When he gave me a copy of the book, just this evening. Usually when I get a book, I read the brief at the back, and then the acknowledgement. And my next question is, who is the publisher? So I looked around, the publisher was not declared. But then there was the ISBN number, the 13 digits that are given to any number, for any book, publication for international reference. The ISBN is there at the back. See those bars? So when the young man was eavesdropping, I was asking him, who is the publisher of this book? To my biggest surprise, as a contribution, the greater surprises that we all know about Ambassador Owade, this very intelligent man, one who knows what to do at what occasion, is that there is no publisher for this book other than himself. Congratulations. Congratulations. He is the publisher of his autobiography. It can be an autobiography, but published by somebody else. Macmillan, Oxford Press, whatever you may call it, Kagan, Routledge, Paul. But Ambassador Owade published the book himself. My goodness. I'm in the process of writing a book. I'll come to you for some tuition and guidance on how you can be your own publisher of your own autobiography, rather. The other point I wanted to mention is that diplomacy is the heartbeat of every nation. It's not just in foreign affairs, but you've got to be diplomatic in all other areas. No country will develop meaningfully if diplomacy is not put into practice locally and internationally. I'm saying this with confidence because I worked at all levels in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and set one record which will take years for people to break. That is, after serving as an ambassador of President Moi for 12 years, and a Minister of Foreign Affairs, even Assistant Minister, and earlier on as a desk officer in the ministry, where, I'm sorry, the person who invited me was the head of our desk. We were calling them desk those days. Passed on late last year, I think, Ambassador Nyanga. There were three of us manning the Middle East desk. And at that time, suddenly I was posted to Saudi Arabia, where I got my first shock. The place was so hot that when I was breathing, it was like taking hot porridge through the nose. Records will show that, Ambassador Maine, you'll see in my file that I applied to be posted back to the headquarters. Reason is just too hot. I didn't know how people are living there. It was terrible, and my wife was not allowed to drive. So I said, what am I doing here? I wrote, and I was posted back. At that time, the ambassador was Ambassador Noah Okulo, who had come from the East African community, and the counselor was the late great Ambassador Dennis Afande. So I was the number 3 in the ministry. Long story short, diplomacy can be used even in the negative. For one to fit in very well as a politician, unfortunately I was a politician for only 10 years, but I was in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for 15 years. Nobody talks about that. They only remember the 10 years because I did the reverse of diplomacy. And if you want to make progress in politics, don't act like a diplomat. So I decided not to behave like a diplomat, and that worked very well because President Kibaki did his 10 years, Kibaki, President of Kenya, 10 years, and Shirao Ali Mokwere, Cabinet Minister for 10 years. Could complain.
The trick here is don't operate like a diplomat. Utilize that for the development of the nation. But publicly, you can be as rough as you wish, and they praise you for being rough. Say, that fellow is so courageous. He insulted so and so. And you make progress. It's very strange. And you become more popular. Very, very strange. Don't do what I say. If you do what I say, you'll be in trouble. Times change. Everything is applied under different circumstances. We're not in the same phase as the days when XYZ was the president. But in foreign affairs, I got a lot of intelligent input from Ambassador Owade. At a time when the permanent secretary was the great ambassador, Boaz Mbaya. Many of you have seen us whispering, talking. It's because we served together. Him as PS, me as minister, but we were both career diplomats, and things worked out very, very well. I must admit, they did the donkey work, very intelligent work. Not only Ambassador Owade, those gentlemen seated there, all of them, except one. Helped me so much. Look, to be in foreign affairs those days, you have to be part of the cream of your generation. And this is a fact. You have to be part of the cream of your generation. Every generation has got its cream. Of course, not all the cream will be taken foreign affairs, but you have to be part of the cream of your generation. So I must admit, after independence, up to I don't know when, whoever was working in foreign affairs was actually part of the cream of his generation. No wonder Ambassador Owade, even if he qualified as a lawyer, were to get you to foreign affairs, you are cream of your generation. And some of us are already there, and others more are coming up. That is why we qualified, got UNEP, as Ambassador Mbaya said, got Habitat here, and now we are the only center outside Europe and America as a headquarters of the UN. We did that together. The process, it's a process. Diplomacy is a process. You keep on adding, benefiting from what was done before. And we did a fantastic job. We solved the problems. Ambassador Dr. George Massafu will tell you that the problem of Congo was solved by Kenyans. That's right. It was solved by Kenyans. During the days of Mobutu, his last days, when Congo was Zaire, I was lucky, just lucky. There are many others who are considered. I was lucky. The Organization of African Unity appointed me special envoy to Zaire. Worked very closely with Mohamed Sahnoun for the UN and Aldo Ayello for the European Union. We came up with a solution. I've got it in my notes, handwritten notes. There are only 5 points, and it was read, they were read at the UN General, at the Security Council. It was announced that the Security Council has come up with a solution, blah, 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 under 5 points. 1, cessation of hostilities. 2, presentation of peacekeeping forces. 3, political activities. 4, registration of voters. 5, voting. Duration, 10 years. Man, that was a job done by Kenyans here. In that team, there was Ambassador Nkuraya and Ambassador, what is his name? It's not here. We did it. And the input was from people, Ambassador Owade, Ambassador Mbaya, Nkuraya, Nani. It was from here. I only presented it, and it was read as the solution, the problems of the Congo. When Kabila had just moved in for a period of 10 years, and then they would have elections. And that's exactly what was followed. What am I saying? Any country that does not give due consideration to its ambassadors is heading for trouble. Because ambassadors know virtually everything about every ministry except medicine.
Actually, we know a lot. That's why in an embassy, you'll find this attaché for this ministry, that ministry, It's the government brought in a small scale to serve the country outside the country itself. So the ambassador gets a lot of exposure in virtually every aspect of development for a country. And you realize that in developed countries, when there are problems elsewhere in the world, or even internal problems, ambassadors are consulted. We see them on CNN, we see them on BBC, and those international media, even local media. But it so happens that in some other places, they don't even get the recognition that they deserve as people who participated effectively and appropriately for the development of the nation. I don't know whom I'm addressing, but one day you'll be in leadership yourselves. When you do, leadership just changes with time. When I become an old man, I'm still young at the age of 80. No, I say, Lala Salama. Actually, I'm 80 years old. When ambassador telling me that they were in high school in 1971, I was the principal of Dr. Agri High School. It appeared in the papers today, they're playing very good basketball. I was the principal. What I'm saying is, leadership changes with time. Your time will come. Maybe 30 years from now. Make use of ambassadors. I'm telling you, make use of ambassadors. That group there is a group that knows so much that before they leave office, they've got to take an oath that not release or reveal information for the next 30 years. The assumption is before the 30 years end, they will be dead. Fortunately, I'm around. When you are in authority yourselves, years to come, make use of ambassadors. Of course, I'm not underrating other departments or other ministries. They're extremely important. And I think they make use of people from other ministries in one form or the other. But I'm a very sad man because ambassadors, who should be at the center of things, advisory in every ministry, don't seem to get the appropriate opportunity to do so, particularly in developing countries. I'm not criticizing any in developing countries. Ambassador Owade, we are proud of you. If I was still the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I would promote you to a higher position. I don't know what would be called, maybe Ambassador Mbaya, what would we call him? Super ambassador. Super ambassador. We know what you did in Geneva and the other stations in the US and so on and so forth. We are a good example, an example to all. I've not read your book. I'll go through it. I read quite a lot. But I'm rather impatient when it comes to writing. My brain thinks of ideas faster than my hand, so I end up in trouble while I'm thinking of something else and I'm still scribbling or typing. So I'll come to you for some guidance on how to go about it. And I'm sure when you read my book, I better be warned in advance. I'm a very angry man, because for all these people, it has not been a walk in the park where they're working. There were problems, issues, they praise each other, but if you meet them privately, they will tell you how bad XYZ was, including Z-Papa here. No wonder they called me Z-Papa. There are some who don't want to see me or even greet me. When they see me, they will change direction and walk away from me. It happens, we are human. And since we're human, you cannot please everybody. However, I can tell you, I like to apologize and say pole to those whom I wronged, because if I wronged you at that moment in time, you are completely useless. If I recognize you, then you should know that you are very, very good, because
I don't miss words. If you're no good, I tell you you're not good in your face. If you're good, I tell you you're good. And so for those, and it's for everywhere, by the way. He was telling me that in 1976, they had problems at the university and some were expelled. I won't tell you when I was a member of council of the University of Nairobi, but those were the days of Professor Muthu and Manu Chandaria. So I was a member of the council. And I must admit I was in that committee where we kicked out some people. I won't tell you the years. If you want to do research, go and check. You'll find my name somewhere there. But if I did that, I apologize to you because at that time you were very, very rough, extremely rough. You are so good that you are even beating policemen because they'd gone for some military training. So we took action because, look, I mean, students were taking over, they were beating up policemen. Can you imagine that? So if you see my name there, forgive me. I was a member of the council and made some decisions which, as a human being, I regret why I did that. But it was not your time, Ambassador Owade. It was much later. We're now just chatting, by the way. We're not even making a speech. And since I tried the vocation of a politician, I could talk till tomorrow morning. I went to politics accidentally, absolutely accidentally. What happened is President Moi appointed me head of the KANU Secretariat. You remember there was a ministry called Ministry of Guidance and Political Affairs. Minister Honorable Njiru, Kirinyaga Moto. So I was quotation like the PS because he formed the ministry. 2 weeks later, he dissolved it. So I became head of the KANU Secretariat. That's where I learned politics. I learned that to be a good politician, you do the reverse of a diplomat. And since I'm not interested in either, I'm not interested in being a diplomat again, nor am I interested in being a politician. All you can do is, if you want to go to one or the other sectors, please come for advice because diplomacy is a very tricky matter. I'm looking for the MCA. Where is he? Yeah. I was calling you MCA, that's why you did not go. I had the A accidentally. I don't think you're interested in that. So, ladies and gentlemen, personally, I congratulate Ambassador Owade because we worked together, and I know he is a person who has contributed tremendously for the development of the country on the diplomatic side and even beyond. I congratulate you on the publication of your book. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador, and we appreciate your candid speech, or dialogue and conversation. Karibu, Ambassador. Please remember my request to the next speaker. No, praise name poetry, Park Rock.
Park Rock. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. There was a gentleman in the room, I don't know whether he has left, known as Odur Jagero. We should have recognized him. He has a channel on YouTube. Eh? How many of you have watched his channel? Yeah, he was in the room. Yeah, he will be talking to me. He will be interviewing me. So you must watch that, although he can be very funny. I want to take this opportunity to really thank Governor Emeritus of Siaya. I worked with Governor Rasang and have a chapter on Siaya. You know, and when I communicate mainly through text. So when I sent him a text, he's one of the people who answers texts immediately. He answers even when he was governor. He answers all calls. If he can't, he will call you back. Governor, we appreciate that. Give him a clap because not many people do that. And I also know when I worked with him, that he's an early person. Can come to the office very early. He will push you very hard, and I've talked about him in my book, how he used to push us very hard. We would prepare a paper for cabinet through what we call Kamkunji. That is the meeting of the ministers without the governor. And he would give a lot of thoughts to it. But when we present it to the cabinet, the formal cabinet, Governor Asanga would quickly notice weaknesses in your paper. And then we would wonder, but all these 11, 12 heads, we spent considerable time, and we were not able to see this. You know, that's why I say, to be a politician, you must be gifted in one way or another. And maybe that's why I never became a politician. So I am appreciating Governor Colonel Rasanga, and I want to request you, Governor, we have kept you very late, and we apologize. I know by this time you normally would have retired. Yes. If you can make some remarks. Thank you. Thank you.
Just wave like this. I'll be able to know whether you are still alert or not. Thank you, Ambassador. I want to take this opportunity to also congratulate you for this job, good job that you have done. You have been asking me when mine will be out, or whether it is already out. When it is out, it will not be hidden. I will invite the whole congregation, but it will soon be out now that you have challenged me, right? What is important is that Ambassador started challenging me earlier in life. As he was in Form 2, when I was in Form 1, I used to marvel at when I hear that there is somebody in Form 4, in Form 2, that is very eloquent in debating, right? And so as he proceeded, and I looked at the results of the Form 4s, when I'm now in Form 4, and I'm seeing that Ambassador Owade has scored 1, distinction 1, in the Bible, in religious studies, I was really encouraged. And I said, by the way, I also wanted to do the same paper. Yeah? Unfortunately, the syllabus was changed, so we never did what you did. Whatever we did was now very different. And so I fell off. Instead of following you now, you can see I fell off a bit. But I followed you to Kisii, because when you were in Musocho, I was in Kisii High School, isn't it? So I was still following you. Yeah? So when we again met at the university, now I'm doing BA, Bachelor of Arts, I'm doing economics. And finally, I ended up as a procurement officer. And for your information, being a procurement officer for 20 years was not an easy thing, because I wanted still to follow Ambassador Owade. So after 20 years, I decided to go back to the university now to become Ambassador Owade. And I graduated in LLB, right? I went ahead and got an LLM. Now I'm doing my PhD. And the subject here is Ambassador Owade, isn't it? So I was following him, but then when he said here that when I went to tell him that I wanted to become a governor, he was looking at me and he dismissed me. You know, he was dismissing me because he was still thinking I was a Form 1. Not knowing that I had also gone through some processes, isn't it? Yes, and by the way, what do you know? A rejected stone. Yeah? The story about the rejected stone. So essentially, there are a few things that when Ambassador became county attorney, that's what I don't know whether you have put it in your book. Yeah, because you are the only person who applied. And you are the only person who took the job. And it is because I said I don't want to see any other person. I only wanted who? Ambassador Owade. Because Ambassador Owade was the architect of the County Government Act, isn't it? And here he was coming with that experience to help execute devolution. And indeed, it was very useful to me as county attorney. You know, when you have worked in the government like me, there are so many things that you would like to be done in the right way, isn't it? But then they end up being done wrongly. Ambassador, I don't know whether you remember when I had asked you that some people had grabbed land in Siaya, and I wanted this land back to the county government. Do you remember? And we started the process. We went, fenced the place. Where did we end up? Nowhere. Nowhere, isn't it? So sometimes you would like to do things the right way, but progressing becomes very difficult. Until I was telling Owade and the cabinet that sometimes what you resort to in management is called scientific recklessness. Scientific recklessness. Yeah? Because you have somebody here. You are supposed to be disciplining the person. You have written all the letters in this world. You cannot dismiss this person. What do you do with that person? You transfer him somewhere where he just answers and it doesn't work. See that is recklessness. Yes, and Owade, I don't know whether you have also included in your book, I had tasked you as an ambassador to solve a domestic issue between your friend and my deputy. Yeah, and you failed. That is one thing that you should write, kabisa kuite, because you failed. It is not resolved, isn't it? So sometimes it is also good to put things that you really tried to do. Okay, please. Without wasting time, I think I can say that Ambassador has set for me the pace. Ambassador, you may not know, but I have now finished my coursework, because that is basically what I do today. Me, I have nothing else I'm doing. I'm just doing the reading, and I am specializing in procurement law. My topic is on 30% reservation that is set aside for youth people with disability, which when you look at it from the law, it is very good that it is going to assist those people. But when you look at the budget, the total budget, you will find that that 30% becomes less than even 5%. A very good topic indeed. So, Dulo, you see we are going somewhere with the Owade. So my challenge to you is, somebody might ask me what am my, in fact, so many people have been asking me that you have been a governor. Now what do you want to do with your PhD? And I tell them I'm doing it for my wife and my children. Why my children? When I pass very well, I send them my results. Okay, as a challenge. So they look at it and they get challenged, isn't it? And you who are here, don't you think it is a challenge? It is a challenge. So it is a good thing that you take your opportunity to also pursue it, and especially our children, so that today, I think during those days when we were in high school, and Owade, you never knew that because we were in Maranda under very special difficulties, isn't it? That is what has made me to be who I am. And that is what made you to be who you are, isn't it? You are going to do history, and you have never seen a teacher in your life in that school. This history, you are going to do it yourself, right? And you managed to pass. Wonderful, isn't it? Yeah, so that is why when you are telling yourself with your heart that this man may not make it, for me, I knew I would make it because I am a very prayerful person. And I knew that if I looked at my account before I left to pursue this governorship, I had 2.8 million shillings in my account. That is what I started running with. Within about less than a month, the money is already gone. Then I went through the people who matter, isn't it? Then Dr. Buru takes me to Equity Bank, to Mwangi himself. Do you have security? I say, yes. How much money do you want? 24 million, right? So I was given 24 million. So when I left that place, I had a lot of money, okay? But what is interesting is that the moment I was declared a winner, I went back to check what I have in my account. It was 2.8 million. Yeah? Exactly what I started with. And I'm now in office. Okay? So, that there was a lot of God in it, and that God is still there today and even tomorrow. Isn't it? So if I tell you that one time, if I want to be a senator, it will be possible. It will be possible. Yeah? Yeah, I don't have any doubt if I want it. What I'm saying, what I'm telling you is that you can become anything if you want it. Isn't it? Yes. You can become anything when you want it, except you must knock on the door and work for it. Yeah? Asanteni sana, ever since I left the office, I have not been talking to people the way I'm talking to you. Right? So this was a blessing to me, because now I have had an opportunity to at least address a congregation. Asanteni sana. Wapi MC, you want me to Pakra?
Oh, okay. Now that is, in French, he's saying he will do it next time. Yeah. Thank you, Governor Emeritus. And we wish you well in your studies and also future ambitions. So where we are now, I think time is not on our side. But we, if I'm not wrong, we are at the point of getting some vote of thanks. I'm not sure if Benedict Omolo is here. I know Kevin Osido is here. We've got a bit of history with Kevin. He's Jaoyoma, and also we were in school together. As Benedict is coming, I wanted to mention something about this book. You'll find it in the book. There is a young man, when Ambassador was in Maranda, who falsely accused him of doing something. And then, as a result, he was indefinitely suspended. We don't know whether the young man now is an old man, whether he's alive. If he's alive, as Gen Zs say, please, can you give us his number so that we greet him? Yes. Karibu.
Thank you very much. Time is well spent, and so I'll just get into it. I worked with Ambassador at the county government of Siaya between 2022 and 2024, and it was a great time. So I want to give thanks. Let's start off by just giving thanks to all of you for coming. It's been a long evening, but we do appreciate the nexus between law and diplomacy. It's always good to also have the politicians here to remind us that sometimes diplomacy does not work and that politics is different. And so we want to appreciate each and every one of you for the time you have spent with us. I want to specifically appreciate Mr. Dulo. You came in, you were delayed, but we do appreciate your input to us. The Shairi, I want to thank Habibi for her Shairi. I am reminded of the year when Maranda scored all A's in Kiswahili. We will leave it at that for now, because they got A's. But when my people speak Kiswahili, or Swahili, I'm not sure that there was orals in that exam, but we leave it at that. Sio mdomo chetu. But we do appreciate Habib for her Shairi. Want to appreciate all the ambassadors who spoke, who gave their insights and their experiences, and the representative of Justice Ombija. And Adipo, who microwaved his poem. Thank you very much to each and every one of you. To the former Governor Emeritus, Colonel Rosanga, and who was also the chief guest, thank you very much. And Reverend, for the Q&A, a good job. I worked in the media. I would have done it a little bit differently, but a good attempt. But because you have a PhD, I cannot question beyond that. Let me now invite Kevin Osido, who will also give a few remarks, and then John Mark. Be ready with a short prayer. It is way past our sleeping time, so your prayer needs to be short, effective, and to the Lord to keep us safe. Kevin.
Asante sana ndugu Ben. Mabibi na mabwana hamujambo. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. It's only this side that is being very active. I don't know whether it's because I walked from that side. But VOJ from Ramogi will remind you that kokipamo nengato kauono tokata inibe kinyo kene pamni. So just to crown up the appreciations and the vote of thanks, I want to request us to prepare our hands. Ilo solueti unatengeneza mkono by just rubbing them together. And because God has blessed us with very good weather, it is a little bit cold. So I was coming here, it was drizzling outside. You know, as I say these things, I'm requesting us to just warm our hands. Okay, let me stand this side. This side looks quite boring. So let me focus on this side. Okay, let's warm our hands, please. Increase the speed. Increase it once again as I check on the temperature on this side. The lady in red, warm your hands. It is warm already. It is hot. Okay, makofi moja. That is a very good trial. So Ben, you read a number of names. Oh, he's already dashed out. I don't know how many they are, but this program indicates that there are about 12 names of people who spoke to us. So we're going to give ourselves 12 hearty claps. Yes? Okay, I'm being reminded by Madam Maureen, 12 ni mingi sana, punguza. Balozi, how long did it take you to write the book?
It's difficult to tell. I started scribbling this book. By the way, there's somebody I should have acknowledged. Is Rowena here? Rowena Stella Deda. Yeah, this lady, come up. This lady, a very brilliant lady. I've acknowledged her in the book, in the final pages of the book. She used to work with me as a legal officer in Siaya. She was a senior legal officer. She has recently been promoted, she told me, to principal. Principal legal officer. Very young girl. Clap for her. Clap for her. If you read the acknowledgements in the book, I've acknowledged her. Because I started scribbling this book, and then she told me she wanted to edit the book, but she didn't have any experience in editing. But I allowed her to do, and she did a good job. I think I've mentioned that. You want to talk? No. We just want to acknowledge you. The speeches are over. So thank you very much, Rowena. I could not fail to acknowledge you. So I started writing the book when I was in Siaya, around 2018. Yes. Then, of course, there was COVID. I did quite a bit during COVID time. We had a lot of time. My challenge is that I am BBC. You know what BBC means? Not before Christ, but before computers. So handling computer was a challenge. But I've written the book using this thing called the iPad. I find it very easy. I only use one finger, but I'm able to do it. So sometimes you have what you call a writer's block. You go for several weeks or months or even a year without writing anything. Yeah, so that is how long I've taken. I think I also need to appreciate another lady here. Maureen, you cannot go without being acknowledged. Maureen Nyarongo is my beloved wife. Clap for her. Yeah. And she has really encouraged me. She's a go-getter, She can push you very hard. Yeah, so she has been pushing me. And, I've been able to reach where I've reached because of her. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Since speeches are over, I'll just appreciate you. I didn't appreciate some of these people. I want to appreciate Victor Juma of Ramogi. You are acknowledged. I have a very interesting story with Victor. I've not written it in the book, but I think it will appear in my next book. Thank you. Thank you very much. I just noticed a lady that, unless my eyes also fail me, is that Angeline? Angeline, please get up. Angeline Oduor is the minister, the executive committee member for tourism in Siaya. So Siaya is well represented. I think she came a little later. And this is the lady that has been behind that very successful project, that stadium in Siaya. We have one of the best stadia, in this. The plural of stadium is stadia. Yeah, some of us studied English. It's not stadiums, it's stadia. One of the best stadia in this country. Angeline, thank you very much
for coming. There's Ben Agina there. We also worked with Ben Agina, was our communications officer in Siaya, but he has since moved on. I think Ben Omolo has given his vote of thanks. Ben Omolo was a brilliant man, I can tell you. A brilliant man, brilliant finance expert. And I think I've mentioned that in the book. Worked with us in Siaya as the CCM member for finance, but I think he has since left for greener pastures. So there are many, many people here. I think we acknowledged co-author Felix Okach. Yeah, you maybe need to say hello. Huh? Come and say hello to these people. Those are my in-laws, but she's also a distinguished scholar. A distinguished lawyer. Allow me to, your indulgence, as exceptionally for you to greet these people.
Thank you very much, Shemeji. And Maro, I am Maro, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, so many things in the Luo tradition. Congratulations, Ambassador. A job well done. I met Ambassador in line of duty before we got related, when he was secretary for devolution. We're doing a lot of work in drafting, the laws that were implementing the new constitution at the time, and congratulations. And we are representing Kangeso. Kangeso is where Maureen comes from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jokangeso, Mago Jokawacha, you are very well represented. Gemrai is also represented. Charles Dulo has spoken here on behalf of Gemrai. So if we have not acknowledged you, that's Rhoda. Rhoda, yeah, there are many people I didn't see when they came in. That is my niece, thank you very much, but that I haven't seen for a long time. So asanteni sana. Of course, we have John Mark Oduor, who has been with us in the Anglican Church, All Saints Cathedral for many years, has done many things in my personal life, and I think he will be giving us the final prayer. Asanteni sana. Who have I not acknowledged? I should also have said that Ambassador Mwita Muburi was not just a colleague in foreign affairs. Is Philip Kungu still here? Kungu left. Muburi was actually my classmate from Cardinal. Yeah, you wear that other hat, but sometimes we forget. So we produce two ambassadors. That's not an easy class, is it? Yeah. Oh, there is another one. No. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so to answer that question, I think I've answered it, but I've also seized the opportunity to say more than. So, asanteni sana. Will be, as we said, the book has been, is self-printed, if there's a word like that. Self-published, and we'll be organizing how you can get copies outside there. And we are announced in the various forums. We'll particularly arrange with, it's called what, Nuria. We'll arrange with the Nuria, we'll arrange Textbook Center and the major outlets. We'll also arrange in the due course, what do you call it? It's called what? Huh? There's a word for it. Yeah, with Amazon. Yeah, so that, because there's a lot of demand for it, even internationally, people we worked with that may not get the physical copy. So I want to thank you very much for supporting me and, let the journey continue. Asanteni sana. So you can continue with the program. I took so long to answer your question. I'm becoming a politician, eh? So don't give me the microphone again. Thank you.
Makofi kwa balozi moja. Igo eradha mateka manadini. So the reason why I was asking that question, Balozi, is because I was looking for a figure for a club. And unfortunately, you didn't give a figure. Or 2018. So 2018 hadi leo, how many years are those? 7 years. So we'll give ourselves 7 factorials. But before I do, really special appreciation to Ambassador Zachary Mupuri Mwita. He was my boss at the International Conference on the Great Lakes region when I was chairman of Kenya chapter and vice chair for the democracy and good governance for 12 countries that form the Great Lakes region. So thank you so much. So we'll do the 7 claps, and it's 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So start thinking about it. But as we do, Balozi, there's a lot of work for you. Kenya is at stake, and we're looking forward to ambassadors like yourselves and others who are here. For us who are in governance, we sometimes wish to cry for this country. And so we are looking for wisdom from men and women like yourselves. And I think Ambassador Makwere raised a number of spaces where former foreign service colleagues like yourselves can be able to help this country. And so we hope that this book will be able to contribute in assisting in filling in those gaps. So tutengeneze mikono mazuri, just rub your hands again, then I say, moja, we do. Order. Balozi is coming up again. Eric, are you in the room? So this is a technical hitch. I think it is Governor Rasanga who spoke about, was it technical embarrassment? Or what was that? So the book is a book launch, but the book has not been launched. And we are closing. So that's what Balozi is reminding me about. That before we close, we need to launch the book. Then we can now clap and pray and leave. Eric, what is the guideline for launching the book? So I'm also reminded, ladies and gentlemen, that there is tea and snacks after this. So let's not sahau kunywa ama kukamata kitu. And Balozi, Uyoma is also represented. I see Zablon Omungo there and a big team. Karibuni sana. If you haven't gotten a copy of the book, we have a pay bill number here. And then you will liaise with the desk at the back, and Balozi will be able to autograph the book for you, as you also take a photo to post on your, I hear is now on TikTok. So you can also ask him to make a comment on TikTok so that we can, yes, we'll teach you how to do that. Number 2, of course, is, yes.
those who supported him, those who encouraged him. We want to thank you for those who are part of the story, so that to them it's not a story, it was a life. We pray, Jehovah Lord, that you continue to strengthen them, give them grace as they journey through life. And those who have not written their story, that may they write it, that we may be part of that conversation. We want to thank you for each and every family represented here tonight, that Lord, in a special and wonderful way, may your grace abound for each and every one of us. Lord, as we look back, the beginning of that story in that book up to this moment, may our story tell of your grace that is abundant for us. May we hear the thread of love, joy, peace, and diplomacy, because in so doing, we are reminded that because you loved us so much, you also came that we may have a conversation with God and be restored back to you. And Lord, tonight, as you celebrate this moment, may we remember that we are all in this as a journey, brothers and sisters, friends and neighbors, walking together. And so as we come to the end of tonight, we pray that you go with us, watch over us, protect and care for us. Grant us journey mercies as we go back to our various homes, that all will be well. When all is said and done, we'll give you thanks and praise for your love and your faithfulness. We thank you and bless your name, for we pray, trusting and believing in Jesus' name. And now may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore. Amen. God bless you and have a lovely night.
Thank you so much. And I'm asked that for those who want to take photos, we'll focus our precepts here. So we are going to use the bar as a background. We have closed, and you're free to have your snacks. Where is that? Here or upstairs? So we'll be guided where we have the balozi. You know, now you are going to be the standing, the focus is here. If you want a photo with Ambassador Owade, EBS, this is going to be the focus, and you are welcome.